Don't miss the awesome Naruto stories my sister creates. Her last channel was hacked, so to stay in the loop, please subscribe to her new channel. It would mean a lot to her, and you won't regret it. Hello to all lovers of lemon scenes. I invite you all to my boosty so you can watch your favorite Naruto What If stories in complete comfort. A subscription to Naruto Lemon, the first video with a full lemon, is already on my boosty channel. Dare! The place where I am is unlikely to have been seen by at least one person, even with one eye. I bet a lot of people would like to come here and everyone would like to stay here. However, after spending thousands of years here, you involuntarily begin to think about suicide. But I am God, and while I am in the pure world, this is not possible. Through certain events I gained incredible strength. I can easily create things from nothing, heal the sick and much more. A couple of 100 years ago I created a cool soft robe, white slippers, and a halo. The local inhabitants laughed for a long time, but as soon as I deprived them all of their eyes, the laughter stopped. But even with my power, I cannot leave this place without the permission of one decrepit old man. Don't be boring. Otherwise, just like a child, Kaguya brought me out of my sad thoughts. She learned to read minds. Now you can't even imagine her naked, she immediately bursts into color. What can you do? It's boring. Then call the Shinigami and come to an agreement. I am the only one of the inhabitants who could call the High God a decrepit old man. Besides him, Alona and a couple of other gods are considered the highest gods. The step below is me, Amaterasu, Susanoo, Tsukuyomi and Shinju. We proudly bear the title of the middle division. By the way, I got to such heights only because I absorbed Shinju, and did not seal it. The lowest include Kaguya, Jashina, Izanagi and Izanami. Besides us, there are also those who pretend to be the gods of this world. The so-called pseudo-gods. Their strength is only a fraction compared to ours. We call the Otsutsuki clan such gods. Yes, this decrepit old man doesn't want to make contact. I threw my head back with a dissatisfied look. It's okay, come with me, I'll make contact with you. My charming goddess ran her cold palm over my face and, with a playful wink, walked with a smooth gait to our mansion. She knows what's on my mind, knows I'll follow her lead. Yes, you can use lemon even here. Maybe stop protecting him, he's already big. Maybe go for a walk. Well, I don't know, 2000 years is not such a long time. Naruto must learn to use his power wisely. If he were the inferior, he would let him go in peace, but otherwise. That's why he has to go. The baby won't be able to learn to fly if you tie his wings. Okay, I think you're right. Let him walk. Tell him that if he calls me an old man again, I will personally come for him and cremate him. Well. Kaguya came out of the shower. Her long blonde hair was tied up on her head. I was still lying on the bed. How good she was, both in bed and in a towel. However, after the stormy lemon, I felt something completely new. It was like I had a key. This is it, Kaguya hugged me tenderly, I feel it. Do you really think so? I said with disbelief in my voice. Go. I will miss you, these were the last words. I kissed Kaga goodbye and followed the invisible current that stubbornly called me to follow it. I found myself in a place unknown to me before. Soon I heard a voice. Old man. Free, but be careful. Of course, I smiled and opened the portal window. Well, let's get started. I began to gradually open portals one after another, choosing the most interesting option. So there is no pink world. Victory of Akatsuki is possible, but not hunting. Wow, how much is that? There is no alternative reality either. My world, Obito's mouth, and that's it. You can watch how the canon will change. I took a confident step into the portal. The portal has opened. I got out of it and looked around. Yes, in principle this is exactly the place where I wanted to go. All around me was a dilapidated forest, which was not that far from Konohagakure no Sato. A squad of Konoha and Kyubi shinobi was located in the clearing. Yeah, apparently Minato hasn't shown up yet. Apparently we'll have to start without him. I ran towards the tailed beast. His eyes were similar to Uchiha eyes. Speaking of them, the same one was standing on Kurama. A moment later I found myself next to him. Standing on Kyubi's head, I patted him on the shoulder. What? He screamed and stuck a kunai into me, but when he saw my eyes, he hurried to hide in the kamui. Well, I do not. He would have succeeded, but I was able to open the portal and get the mask maker out of there. Where are you going? A blow to the gut left the boy speechless, and then I put the stamp of enslavement on him. A second later the fourth Hokage appeared. Late. I've already finished everything. Hey, Hokage, hold the goat. Who are you? I think Minato's surprise is difficult to describe. You're about to fight some idiot who should be strong enough to subdue the most powerful tailed beast, and then this. You, come on, take this miracle to Ibiki, and I'll take care of the fox. And tell the third to take Kushina and the little one, and after everything we'll talk, okay? The Hokage nodded and disappeared along with the masked man. How gullible. Although, what else can he do? I placed my hands on Kurama's head and sealed him into myself. The entire unimaginably large carcass of the monster was into me. After that I went down into the subconscious. The fox lay chained to the floor. Pathetic mortal. Let me go. And I will reward you with strength, Kyubi shouted with contempt and hatred. My strength is enough for me. I squatted near the head of the immobilized tailed one. What? Where did you get these eyes from? Kurama roared when he saw my Rinnegan. From where? From Shinju, but that's not the point. The first thing you must understand, I poked him in the nose, is that I am God. And compared to your dad, I am many times stronger. Got it, said the fox, and his shackles disappeared, as if they had never existed. Okay, settle in for now, but I need to discuss something with the Hokage. I bet Minato is in shock right now. What about Kakashi? When Obito died and Rin was killed by him, the carbon copy was only 13 years old. After that, he withdrew into himself, and Minato sent him to Anbu. Remembering the events that they told me about quite a long time ago, I slowly reached the village. However, two Jounin blocked my way. In response to my question, they began to explain that a state of emergency had now been declared in Konohagakure no Sato, so that unknown persons were prohibited from entering the village. I didn't want to waste time on formalities, so I put a small genjutsu on the shinobi. Come in, Uzumaki-san. The Konoha men stood up straight and parted. The village was not badly damaged, most likely I appeared at the right moment. There were no local residents, traders or guests of the village. I think they were all sent to a shelter. There aren't even any corpses. Having reached the residence, I stopped. Yes, apparently there is a taboo on this building in terms of changing it. This is how I remember him both during the time of Hashirama and in my wonderful childhood. When I was accused of treason against the village whose ruler I wanted to become. Oh times. I sensed Anbu sitting in the hidden cavities of the building. Kakashi was there too. Entering the building, I headed towards the Hokage's office. I knocked and, hearing permission, entered. There were Hiruzen, Danzo, old advisors, Minato, and also Jiraiya. Hello, dear ones. I created a luxurious chair for myself opposite Minato and sat down in it. 6 jaws dropped under the table at once. But as soon as I snapped my fingers, they quickly came to their senses. You probably want to know who I am and what I am like? Everyone present nodded confidently. I am Naruto Uzumaki, god of the middle division. Came to you from another world. So you control the whole world? Minato was surprised. Then what are you doing here? No, absolutely not, I shook my head, remembering my old world. The other gods didn't give it to me. You see, I upset the balance of the world. I could only intervene in the event of global threats and treat the sick. Who do you call other gods? Well, as I said earlier, I am the god of the middle division. There are several gods above me. I only know Shinigami and Alona, they are the high gods. There are a couple more gods, but I have not met them before and know nothing about them. Now I'm listening to your questions. So the Uzumaki subjugated the god of death? Minato asked in shock. No, of course not. It's more like an avatar, just a semblance of his appearance. The most he can do is absorb your souls. The true power of the high god, and especially the Shinigami, cannot be curbed by anyone. What's wrong with Kyubi? Danzo has already asked this question. It's inside me, he patted his stomach with a smile. How? Do you understand what you have done? Koharu and Hamura roared. Danzo was staring at me with his Sharingan under the bandage. We should remove him right away, otherwise he will drink a lot of blood. Quiet! I shouted. Silence reigned in the office. First of all, don't poke me at the wrong level. And secondly, Danzo has appropriated the eyes of several Uchihas, and the rest, except for the third, are also stealing from the treasury. This is true? Minato was furious. That's not true, Minato. Who will you believe, your advisors, or some boy? The old men began to talk their teeth into. Weasel, dog, detain the advisors. Ordered the fourth Hokage. Where is Danzo? Here he is. I pulled it out of Shunshin. The decrepit old man, who was once the strongest and most cunning of his kind, struggled and even tried to influence with his little eye. Having created a huge sword, I cut off his hand, unseal the limb and see what's behind his bandages, I ordered. The ANBU quickly tore off all the bandages and took off the heavy bracelets. Everyone saw the hand and the Sharingans implanted in it. I think Fugaku-san will be very upset. I feigned sadness in my voice. I will inform the head of the Uchiha clan myself. Tomorrow at dawn, all three of them will be executed. Minato gave the order, and I, tearing out Danzo's eye, gave the old man to ANBU. Weasel and Dog, or rather Yugao Yuzuki and Kakashi Hatake, quickly took the old man away. Hiruzen left immediately, realizing that if he were young and handsome, he would definitely turn gray today. Jiraiya also wanted to leave, but I stopped him. Not so fast. Today we are walking. We'll have to tell Kushina something else. There was a nervous laugh. Madara is not in touch, a voice was heard in the darkness. He is in the ANBU dungeons and it seems he will remain there for a long time, a female voice answered calmly. Great, he won't interfere with our plans anymore, the man said almost in a whisper. Now about the bad. The man who captured Madara, the girl hesitated. Well, the first voice said demandingly. He has a lot of chakra, my origami just turned to dust when I tried to attack him. Very interesting, keep watching. As you command, Leader Sama. It was an ordinary evening. The taverns were filled with tired and tortured people. They went to drink and eat, going on a well-deserved rest. I was sitting in one of the bars in Konoha with Minato and Jiraiya. It was wonderful. I talked about my childhood, about my travels with Jiraiya. He also talked about how he became a god. I have never had such evenings. I was very glad to see Jiraiya, because it was thanks to him that I became what I am now. Of course, he took my money, but he returned it with training. My father too, in that world I didn't really know him, but now I'll recognize him along with the little one. So what's wrong with Obito? I asked him, sipping sake from a bowl. There was a strange seal on his heart. Besides, they were thoroughly brainwashed, Minato answered bitterly. Will it be possible to return him to the shinobi state? Yes, but it's not soon, Jiraiya said quietly, to which Minato only nodded. I see. What's wrong with his eye? Sealed. That's even better, I replied, and we continued drinking. Even during the conversation, I noticed Origami trying to scratch me. It didn't cause me any pain, but it was quite infuriating. I didn't want to make too much noise, so I tried to destroy it quietly. The first time I burned it, but Nagato apparently did not calm down and decided to find out everything about me. Let it be, I have nothing to hide. After sitting a little more, we said goodbye to Jiraiya. And I went with Minato. Listen, aren't you mad at Mom and me? Minato asked uncertainly. When I found out the truth about you, I was angry, but then everything went away. I was proud that I was your son. The Hokage smiled at these words, but it was in my world. Now you have your own child, and my parents remain there. The smile changed to sadness. Listen, Minato, there is unnecessary land? Yes, on the outskirts of the village, but why? Minato, I'm 2000 years old, I'm already big and I need to live separately, I said with an artificially serious tone. The Hokage laughed. We walked further in silence, but with smiles on our faces. Since Kushina and the little one are in the hospital, I can spend the night here, and tomorrow they will draw up documents for me. Minato gave me a room and almost immediately went to bed. Now I can think about my great plans for the future. I don't intend to stay in this world for a long time, no more than 5 to 10 years. There are plenty of other worlds to visit. In this world, you can capture all the tailed beasts for yourself. No matter how the countries get at me for taking away their weapons. The animals themselves were probably incredibly tired of the Jinchuriki. And they need freedom. After this, we probably need to unite all countries into one and give an impetus to the development of this world. Maybe at least here it will be possible to create world peace. I fell asleep with these thoughts. Seal. Shinigami said in shock, it cracked. What? Responded in chorus from all the gods. Urgently, call everyone. If we don't strengthen the seal, then things are rubbish. And if it breaks, even our strength will not be enough to stop it. The alarm clock I set rang at exactly 8:59. 3 seconds later I was already dressed. I was wearing standard shinobi sandals. Despite the name, they were many times more comfortable than my old shoes. White pants, a black t-shirt and a gold trench coat completed my look. Don't look at me so reproachfully here. God can. Shinigami generally wears a bone cloak. Half a second later I found myself in the square, standing a little further away from the Hokage and the rest of those present. Minato was surrounded by his 4 loyal bodyguards. Among them was Kakashi. He, having activated his Sharingan, examines me point blank, which cannot but irritate me. In response, I send an impulse into his eye and show him with my finger that he shouldn't do that. Fugaku, standing next to the 4th Hokage, also wanted to look at me with his clan eyes, but when he saw how the carbon copy shuddered, he changed his mind. A couple of minutes later, a squad of shinobi led the former elders into the square. Having brought the last ones to their knees, the ninjas fell into line. Dear villagers, shinobi and ordinary citizens, Minato firmly and confidently. His voice carried throughout the entire square and was clearly heard by the crowd. Yesterday, documents were found about thefts and misappropriation of other people's property. All this was revealed thanks to our new friend, whom I will introduce you to after the execution. In total, according to our data, over 3 billion ryo were stolen. Even here I am OL Konoha 2.0 can be built anew, or maybe several times, there will still be left, and how many packs of ramen. In addition, we found out that 3 of my advisors were involved in wanton, brutal murders and torture, but I didn't listen any further. All my thoughts were occupied with such a long-forgotten thing as Old Man Tuchi's noodles. Immediately after the end of the Hokage's speech, an angry cry was heard from the crowd, the same one echoed by many other voices. "Kill the bastards!" The already insane roar of the crowd brought me back to the real world. The executioner did not keep himself waiting long, and within a second the head of the first elder fell from his shoulders and rolled towards the crowd, and then the second head went there too. The shinobi who held the barriers themselves kicked their heads into the crowd. The crowd of people laughed contentedly. They want retribution. Then I looked at Danzo, a beaten, cut-up old man was on his knees. He knew that he only had a few seconds left to live. But even despite this, his face did not display fear, not a single hint of any weakness. And his head calmly rolled towards the same roaring crowd. Justice has triumphed. The fourth Hokage of the Leaf Village announced loudly. The crowd hissed and applauded him. I don't think the advisors bothered them that much. Just the very fact of what they did made me angry. Now I can introduce you to the one who helped us expose the evil that has been hidden from justice for decades. Minato called me over. Standing next to him, I looked at the crowd. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, I didn't try to hide or delay. The crowd cheered and thanked him. The shinobi's reaction was very much expected. Everyone knows about this from the Shinobi Academy. But there they talk about the Rinnegan like a piece of ice, and here I am. A living legend, so to speak. Apparently my eyes confused them. Although ordinary residents most likely do not know about the Rinnegan, I know a lot of things and I can do a lot of things. If anyone in this village needs help, no matter how difficult the request, I will help with whatever I can. The doors of my house are always open for you. Minato-san will tell you where my house is. Having finished my not too fiery speech, I stood back behind my father. Also, I would like to add that I have decided to name my son after our, so to speak, whistleblower, Naruto, Minato said. People clapped for him and he left the podium. Seeing that the action was over, people also left. Soon the square was empty. After the execution, I decided to go to the Yamanaka clan shop and buy a huge bouquet. It was cool inside and smelled of flowers. After consulting with the seller. No, not like this. Having tormented me quite a bit with questions, who is this for, what holiday? What kind of relationship are you with her or him? Well, why is Kami not joking, ha ha ha, one very curious Yamanenka did create a masterpiece of flowers for me. I paid and left the store. The sun's rays immediately warmed me. I immediately noticed the observer. He hides skillfully, but Kakashi from my world is still far away. Come out, I said loud enough to be heard. A young girl came out from behind a tree. Who are you? My name is Yugao Yuzuki. I'm 16 years old, the girl smartly introduced herself. 2 years younger than Carbon Copy, and already in Minato's service. I realized this by the presence of the ANBU seal on her shoulder. Do you know that following people is bad? Moreover, without the knowledge of the Hokage. Sorry, it's just that after I saw your strength, she seems to have started to get nervous, too much, please take me as your student. She shouted and bowed her head. Okay, I replied. Even in that world, I taught the amazing Konohamaru and he learned something, it seems, but here he is already a jonin, plus he also serves in ANBU. Is it true? The girl beamed. She even jumped for joy. Why not? I don't seem to have anything to do yet. Come to the 7th training ground today at 12, I winked at her. Thank you. This charming miracle squeaked and disappeared. After that, as I had previously planned, I went to the hospital. Life was returning to normal. The Kyuubi's attack on Konoha did not cause as many casualties as it did in my world. The destroyed buildings were almost finished being repaired, and residents were enjoying the new day. I reached the hospital. Having found the reception desk, I asked a question that interested me. Good morning. Which room is Uzumaki Kushina in? The nurse looked at me and, apparently recognizing me, immediately gave me the number. Hello, Uzumaki-san. She's in 34. Having found the right room, I quietly entered. Kushina was snoring, and a blonde, cheeky lump lay peacefully in her arms. As I was putting the flowers in the water, Kushina opened her eyes. The development of shinobi makes itself felt. Hi, I sat down next to her. You? I saw you when we were attacked by the masked man, Kushina said, rubbing her eyes with her hand. Yes. Thank you for saving me. She clearly felt insecure. As a mother, she tried to protect her child from any kind of danger. And I am no exception. At the same time, she realized that I saved her family. She seemed to have nothing to fear. It is my duty as your son. Eh? Yes, Mom, I am your son, but I came from another world. Kushina was not even indignant, but now I know for sure that she woke up. Why are you here then? It's a very long story. Perhaps it will be easier to show. By creating a type of screen I demonstrated my life. Good and bad moments. The viewing took at least 2 hours. She wasn't even bothered by the fact that I created out of nothing. Forgive us, she could somehow pronounce the words. Even though I showed her my entire happy and long life, she was still most worried about the very beginning. You, like your father, have nothing to apologize for. I sat down next to him and hugged him. It was in that world, in mine. You are growing up with your own son, who will no longer repeat my story. His parents are alive, he will live in love. I hope so. Kushina pressed herself closer to me. I remembered that Kushina would be in the hospital for a long time without the Kyubi and decided to do something nice for her. Your chakra channels are torn, let me heal them. I snapped my fingers. Well, how? I feel relief, chakra flows evenly. Kushina closed her eyes blissfully, but the little one immediately woke up. Will we still have time to talk when you are discharged? Day after tomorrow. Okay, I smiled and disappeared out the door. Sitting on one of the pillars at the 7th training ground, I smoked a cigarette and waited for my young Padawan. Yes, only weed from the pure world can be compared to Sarutobi's tobacco. There were still 15 minutes left until 12, and she was already approaching the training ground. I burned a cigarette when I saw her. She wears a standard chunin set and has a katana on her back. Hello, this miracle bowed to me. So, let's go without this. You are my student, not a subordinate. I never liked that. Okay, she squeaked. What can you do? What elements, reserve? Well, I am a sword master, from the elements, wind and water, good at genjutsu and tai. Reserve, she thought about the last one. Good reserve. Now I'll know what to work with, he said and jumped off the pole. There's no point in chasing you around like a snotty genin, we'll work on techniques. I'm not good at kenjutsu, but techniques and genjutsu are for me. Remember, my techniques are head and shoulders above the current ones. The girl nodded, that means wind and water. What techniques do you know? Well, water wall, cutting jet, water bullets, water dragon. Wind blades, vacuum bullets and breakthrough. Not bad, half of the A ranks. Okay, let's see. Unfortunately, I need to see the Hokage now. Come here tomorrow at 9 in the morning. The girl nodded and disappeared. I got to Minato's office quickly. Jiraiya and Hiruzen were already there. I greeted them and sat down on one of the chairs. Today it's pathetic to create that chair that I didn't want to do last time. Here, the Hokage handed me the papers. How quickly, here is everything you asked for. Thank you. Listen, how are you going to help people? Minato couldn't resist. How much strength did you lose due to cripples after the Third World War? Well, about 35%. Well, I can treat wounds and illnesses of any severity. Legs, arms, eyes and the rest. I can even resurrect. Hiruzen wanted to ask about this, but I interrupted him. But there is a rule written by death itself and certified by time: you cannot touch the dead. I can only give you time to talk to your wife. The third Hokage nodded. Minato, you can give us a room. No one should bother us, he nodded. Having gone there in the place with the former Hokage, I called upon Sarutobi Biwako. 15 minutes, no more. Thank you Naruto, you have grown into a worthy man, he smiled. Heh, thanks old man. Leaving them alone, I took the documents and headed towards the Uzumaki quarter. This place is not lacking in power, there were seals at every step. Using my strength, I removed the barriers with a wave of my hand. I decided to leave only those that served as protection in the storage facilities. A wave, and all the houses are like new, and a hot spring appears nearby. A wave, and all the weeds are replaced with neat lawns and flower beds. Taking off, I headed towards the head's house. It was a hard day, and tomorrow will be even harder. The clock showed 6 o'clock in the morning. A strange noise was heard in my already restless head. It seems the old man needs something from me. It felt like I was being hit in the brain with a hammer. To end this nightmare, I went to the gathering of the gods, taking coffee with me. Finding myself in a huge hall, I looked around. This place was dark and a little creepy. All the walls were a vile green color, and it seemed that the ceiling would soon break down the gloomy columns that were barely holding it up. But the creepiest thing was not the columns or walls, but the cage. She was jumping desperately, and strange sounds were coming from there. All the gods were holding her back. Everyone was here, those whom I had never seen, and those whom I know very well. It was not difficult to find the one who called me. Shinigami was sitting on the cage, using all his power to hold back something that was there. Naruto, get your divinely lazy ass here and put your hands on this seal. I flew to the seal as quickly as possible, but alas, I didn't have time. The old man flew off the cage. Its gates opened. All the gods, without exception, howled protractedly. This is something new. Ladies and gentlemen. Someone shouted from the cage, I have been waiting for this for thousands of years and now, I am with you again. If this freak gets into my kingdom, I will strangle you. Amaterasu turned to the god of death who had risen from the floor. But, don't be arrogant, my dear. Your nose is not yet mature enough to talk to me like that. I'm still taller than you, Shinigami stated importantly, not only a little thing like you can suffer from him. Oh, how formidable we are, muttered the terribly dissatisfied sun goddess and disappeared into the portal. The other gods left the hall behind her. Everyone except Jashin. I always liked this idiot, God smiled cheerfully. Gee sure, the voice said affectionately. A hand stuck out of the cage and grabbed one of the bars, then a leg appeared. You are the only one who understood me. Wait, isn't it a bit too colorful? And why did all the gods hold him back like that at first, and now they just ran away? I smell something that smells like crap. I gathered all my inner strength to help the old man in a life and death battle. Then a second hand appeared, the fingers of which also grabbed the edge of the cage. The second leg, what strange shoes he has. And so, he suddenly stuck his head out. Clown. The cup of coffee flew down somewhere. He left. Are you kidding me? Clown. You are the only one who understood me. Hold the tangerine, the fruit appeared in this eccentric's hand. Jashin gladly took it and began to clean it, but that was not the case. This fruit exploded and his arm was blown off. The room smelled unbearably of some kind of chemical. Jashin howled with pleasure, what's your name? He asked cheerfully, turning to me. Goosebumps ran through my body. So, stop panicking. What am I like when I first met the bloody demon of the mist, Zabuza? I suddenly raised my hand and threw this creature away from me. The clown hit the wall, made a hole in it, stood up and went to Jashin. He apparently realized that there was no reason for him to compete with me. I abruptly moved to Shinigami. What is this? I asked the god of death. Sit down, I'll tell you. Centuries-old fatigue was felt in the voice of the supreme god. Hooray, fairy tale, I answered sarcastically. Oh, I wish this were a fairy tale, Shinigami said sadly, not noticing the joke. 4,000 years ago, we gods decided to have some fun. Jashin proposed creating a new god. Someone who would make us happy. We decided to call it Show God. But each of us was greedy, we all gave him a little power that we can use. I gave this god the ability to resurrect and kill. He is the only being in the universe who can bypass the rule of the dead. Jashin gave him a love of sadism, Amaterasu gave him the power of humor, and Alona gave Shaw God time travel. The rest of the gods also gave him according to his ability, but our gifts became too terrible a thing that we had ever done. Of course, he is weaker than any of us, but he has the strength of our strength, that is, he has something from every god. Therefore, just as magnets with the same pole cannot connect, neither of us can kill it. We have no power over him. Shaw God tried to approach us, but every time something prevented him. So what? If only we could live and live, what's wrong with that? So for the first 1,000 years everything was fine. Jokes, entertainment, laughter, dancing, magic tricks. What else do the gods need? You are the only one who lived as a hermit among us. We are used to leading a different way of life. But one day, like a little child, he got out of hand and began to travel around the worlds and joke there as much as he liked. At first we thought he wanted to have his own world of jokes, but we were wrong. Now there are 15 fewer worlds. Just let him try to appear in the worlds where I have been or want to visit, I will tear off his arms and legs. But I actually wanted to see countless sets of different universes, and not emptiness. Listen further, boy. To contain it, we decided to build this cage, and to seal it, we combined our forces. For 10,000 years we lived in peace, without fear of escape, because Shaw God was weak to get out of it without anyone's help. None of us wanted to help him, because everyone valued their world, like you. However, recently we noticed that someone began to pour power into him. He escaped only thanks to her. Listen, Jester God, I shouted, how did you get out? I snapped my fingers and he began to speak. Get out of the cage, God laughed disgustingly. Ah, I'm not talking about that, I exclaimed irritably, who helped you get out? Oh, this, he drawled out the first syllable of the word, the Otsutsuki clan, he admitted cheerfully. Why did Otsutsuki help you get out of the cage? I didn't want to step on the rake a second time, so I had to ask in detail. I had to become their guide to the worlds, and also be a striking force in front of other gods. I saw the old man, and you said that he wouldn't do anything to us. Looking at the clown, I crossed my arms gloomily. What are we going to do? Don't call me that, brat. Shinigami's face was gloomy and thoughtful. We won't be able to seal him now. Jashin, you don't seem to like him, do you? So take this bastard for yourself. But if he runs away from you, tricks you, cheats, or does everything at the same time and runs away, I will send you to an unknown direction 200,000 light years from here. As you command, Supreme God Sama. Bowing in a theatrical bow, Jishur grabbed Show God by the scruff of the neck and dragged him towards the portal that he created on the move. Having entered there, they disappeared. I just missed these stupid little dirty little bastards. I count on your reliable shoulder for help, Naruto. I hope you won't mind doing me a favor with this. The god of death turned to me. Of course, it's in my interests too. Okay, it's time for me to go. I have something to do. Opening the portal, I disappeared into it. Without drinking coffee, I decided to fix this matter at the nearest coffee shop. Sitting down on a comfortable table, I ordered regular black coffee. Why didn't I use my almighty power? For what? They'll make me coffee anyway. In a couple of minutes my order was ready. They brought me the drink of the gods, in some strange, colored cup. Well, no. Thoughts about the clown aside. Today is too good a day to spoil it with memories of that misunderstanding. I drank it all in one gulp. Invigorating, but not up to ideal. Noticing how the owner of the coffee shop hesitated, I looked at him. He approached me on weak legs and asked if I could cure his son of cancer. Certainly. Just take me to the room where he is. The man's eyes widened. And he called me to follow him. Having gone up to the second floor, the owner of the establishment took me to his son. Ugh, he's really bad, he has no more than a month left. Sitting down next to me, I ran my hand along my body. The boy had lung cancer and was breathing very hard. Click, and the son is already healthy, now everything will be fine. And all you can do is feed him, because now he needs to regain his lost strength. I think that in a couple of months he will be back on his feet. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, the man bowed, overwhelmed with joy. He finally heard how calmly the child was now breathing. My pleasure. Sorry, but I'm in a really hurry right now. See you soon, I said and disappeared. Once on one of the pillars, I lit a cigarette. There were still 20 minutes left until 9, and she was already at the training ground again. I smoked a cigarette, and she waited silently. Having completed this action, I jumped off the pole. Hello, I greeted. Hello. Well, what techniques will you teach me? She asked, to which I took out a scroll and handed it to Yugao. Choose for yourself, you're not a genin anymore. Here are all the wind techniques ever created. Her beautiful eyes widened, and she began to study the scroll with zeal. Then I caught myself thinking that I like her, just as she likes me. It's funny, though, especially her thoughts about me, brr. Although I must admit, she has everything she needs. Your mother. What am I thinking? She is my student and I am the teacher. Here, after a while she pointed her finger at the roaring dragon technique. Wow, let's try it. I made the seals and released a powerful stream of air from my mouth. There was bare space along the root of the equipment. The technique is not complicated, it's just very chakra intensive. Try it. The girl began to make seals, and then exhaled with all her breasts, and it was really nothing with such a chest. Take it. It's good enough for a couple more times. After repeating the technique 2 more times, Yugao fell to her knee. Sitting down under one of the trees, the girl buried herself in my shoulder, and I began to slowly pump chakra into her. About 40 minutes later she woke up. And what? I fell asleep? What a miracle she is. Yeah, not everyone can perform an S-rank technique 3 times, let's go and take you home. I sat her down on my back and headed towards her house. Having buried her nose in my neck, the girl began to sniffle. The house turned out to be 1 story with a small terrace and a vegetable garden. Entering the house, I put the poor thing on the sofa. Covering her with a blanket, I left the house. When I reached the block, I saw an impressive crowd. The crippled, the terminally ill, the simply sick, not a single healthy one. Having created a small tent, I began the reception. The civilian population goes first, and only then the shinobi, I shouted and began to launch several people at a time. Where are your tools? Asked the old man with pneumonia. For what? I asked with a smile and snapped my fingers. My vision. One of the patients shouted. How easy it is to breathe. Streak took a deep breath. And so the treatment day began. In total I received about 300 people, of which 200 were shinobi. As soon as I finished with the last patient, Minato appeared. Well, how do you like the results of my labors? I asked him. Okay, I like it, in a week you will return all our combat effectiveness to the results of the pre-war period. Don't forget that they all need a month to adapt. Well, it is clear. Thank you, that's all for today, the Hokage said and disappeared with a flash. Entering the house, I wordlessly laid down on the soft bed and immediately fell asleep. He simply created limbs for them and treated diseases with a click, Zetsu said. I have to meet him, Pain said. I think I can arrange this. The plant disappeared underground. The morning greeted me with annoying rays that made their way through the curtains. Somehow I got up and headed to the kitchen. With a click, coffee and toast appeared in my hand. Hey, this is Show God. I decided to make you happy and sent a stranger into your world. Have a good day. How he annoys me. Immediately there was a cry from this very Joker god. Sorry Naruto. I didn't follow. We will seal it very soon. Jashin said quickly. Encounter in Sakura Haruno, the last that I managed to hear from the words of the clown before everything died down. I read about these miscreants. They will now become super strong here. To teach techniques, to kill all the main bastards, but here I have already succeeded. All that remains is for Zetsu to seal it and that's it, and then let them figure it out themselves. How do I know the future? Good question. As strange as it may be, I read the manga and watched the Naruto anime. A pure world is essentially a paradise. Well, one day, quite by accident, I came across the soul of an anime fan. When he saw me, he almost pissed himself with joy. Then he told me about manga and anime, and I was inspired. I studied all the material, looked at myself, and laughed. That's where I learned everything. Although, in principle, I have nothing to fear. This hit Sakura, but what can she do? In my world, she didn't stand out as anything special. Okay, let's watch. Having put myself in order, I headed to the hospital. Well, he's a freak, he's a friend, I'll make sure he's sealed away. I will put all my strength into the seal on the cage for this goat, and the Otsutsuki will know the power of a real god, a power that they have never even dreamed of. I cursed this squalor. Each person, seeing me, smiled and nodded. I remember that before they looked at me differently, with fear and hatred, but 2,000 years have passed since then. I always liked mornings in Konoha, especially if you walk through the center. And here and there is a smell of pastries, coffee and flowers. Walking into one of the bakeries, I bought a box of donuts and 2 coffees. You need to feed your student. She will be pleased. By the way, the owner of the establishment turned out to be the mother of one of the shinobi to whom I returned his leg. So now I am a welcome guest here. I even got an 80% discount. I sat at the training ground for half an hour, periodically heating up donuts and coffee. Yugao arrived ahead of schedule as usual. But why did she take Gecko Hayate with her? Hello, Naruto-sensei, can my friend train with us? She asked, smiling. Well done, respect subordination in front of others. Okay, but I need to talk to him. Here you go, grab some food for now. I handed her the donuts and coffee. At that moment, the box and glass disappeared from my hands, and you are coming with me. I headed towards the memorial of the victims. The young Chunin tensed, but went. We got there in silence. Guy, do you know that you have cancer? He was surprised, but nodded. I assume you didn't go to the hospital? Now he shook his head. Click, and the disease is gone. Taking a deep breath, he stopped coughing, like during my first Chunin exam. What? But how did you do it? Shinobi was surprised. Company's secret. Now tell me how you met Yugao. Jumping onto a rock, I prepared to listen. At first we studied together at the academy, then we were sometimes sent on joint missions, and then we simultaneously became Chunin. Then she decided to associate herself with work in ANBU. I wanted to too, but my chakra volume, skills and techniques were not enough to get there, Hayate said, not forgetting to take deep breaths. And you decided to come to me? I changed the subject. Yes, the Chunin did not hide. Okay, let's see what you can do, let's go back. I jumped off the rock and Hayate and I headed towards Yugao. When we returned, she was finishing her last donut. Seeing us, she wiped the crumbs from her face and ran to meet us. Have you eaten? The girl nodded. Great, keep the scroll with water techniques, call me when you choose. Taking the scroll, she sat down to study it. Now we'll deal with you. I don't think you have a predisposition to the elements, the guy shook his head. Genjutsu? Yes, and also good swordsmanship. I'm not good at kenjutsu. But we'll teach genjutsu. What do you mean by genjutsu? Illusionary techniques, Hayate quickly answered. True, but not entirely. Genjutsu is a very dangerous thing, many people underestimate it. The same Uchiha train rather ninjutsu, but they practice genjutsu very superficially. And the Sharingan is used only to improve reaction and attention, and occasionally for weak illusions. Unfortunately, you have no control. Not suitable for my training. And you will have less chakra than Yugao. I give you a week to develop your reserve and chakra. Then you'll come, okay? The guy nodded and said goodbye to my student and headed out. Where is he? She asked in surprise. Train control. If he can't, then I will be powerless, I answered. The girl seems upset. Okay, let's show you what you chose. Here, she pointed her finger at the bursting jet technique. Tobirama's Senju technique. With this technique, he cut down about 10 centuries-old trees. Yugao thought for a minute, counting the thickness. No, you won't teach that. But why? Wow, what a frowning face. Because you will immediately collapse with severe chakra depletion. Your reserve is still too small for this. You're not a Senju after all. If you want, I can show you a simplified version of this technique. The girl's eyes lit up. Look. I made several seals. Suetun, cutting jet, a stream of water under strong pressure burst out of my mouth and cut one pillar in half. Try it, and I'll sit and watch. You sit all the time. Can you do something? She began to be indignant. For what? I'm used to sitting, relaxing and enjoying life. With my hands behind my head, I sat down under a tree. Work, and then I'll feed you. Lazy guy, the girl frowned and began practicing the technique, and I dozed off. I woke up abruptly. Felt chakra underneath me. I pulled an overgrown cactus out of the ground and blocked its chakra. Here you are, aloe. But how? He croaked. Pop your butt on the doorframe. What do you need? Actually, I plan to catch you a little later, but since this is the case. My leader wants to meet with you, the plant continued to wheeze. Who are you telling this to? You think I don't know that you are your own leader, and everyone from Indra to Obito was your puppet. You can't stop me. I will still carry out my plan. He started shouting. Nope, bye-bye. A click, and the cactus began to evaporate. No. He screamed, what did you do? The scream was interrupted. Yeah, he will take revenge. How? I erased him from reality. Yugao, finish, I still have some business to run, I said, getting up and stretching my bones. I've already finished and I'm very, very tired, she smiled slyly. Do you want me to carry you? Yeah, she said, already on my back. I took her by the buttocks, the girl groaned, but did not object, and then I lowered my hands under her knees. That's how we got to Ichiraku. God, how I wanted this. Taking a deep breath of the smell of noodles, I flowed into the chair. Good afternoon, young people. Young Tucci smiled. 3 large portions, and 1 medium one. About 5 minutes later, 4 servings of aromatic noodles stood in front of us. 5 minutes later my plates were empty. Yugao had a hard time finishing hers. How much can fit inside you? The girl was surprised, pushing the plate away. Here, he patted himself on the stomach, you can walk home by yourself. Okay, she pouted. How much do I have to pay? 140 Rio, the noodle maker smiled. Thank you, I said and, leaving the money on the counter, put Yugao on his back. Okay, I'll take it. Hooray! After seeing Yugao off, I headed towards Minato. Let Nagato wait a little. Since it was getting close to evening, Minato should be home by now. On the way, I stopped at a pastry shop where I got donuts today and bought a huge cake. When I reached the Hokage's house, I knocked. I'm coming. Kushina's voice was heard. Naruto. The former Jinchuriki shouted loudly when she saw me. Naruto, hello, the Hokage came out with a small one. I shook his hand and walked on. The blonde miracle stretched its plump arms towards me. After handing the cake to Kushina, I went to wash my hands. As soon as he came out, he received the baby in his arms. He batted his eyes and tried to gesture with his hands. Here is the first photo. Kushina smiled and ran away to get the camera. After taking a photo and placing it in the albums, we sat down to drink tea. Time passed, little grew by leaps and bounds. In a week it will be his first birthday. The entire village is actively preparing for this event, and I watch it through a crystal ball from the hot springs and sip a mojito. Yugao whistled to the border and will return only in 6 months. This is due to the strange activity of the country of Earth. Hayate was never able to gain control, so he didn't become my student, but I gave him a genjutsu scroll. People occasionally came with their ailments and more. Naruto-san! Shouted a clear girlish voice. Oh, it's you Yuhiko. I sighed, getting out of the hot water. Yuhiko is Yugao's girlfriend, they serve together in ANBU. She's in love with me. After getting dressed, I went to meet her. Hello, did you want something? Yes, I want to invite you to the holiday. Oh, you're not the first to invite me. I lied, smiling awkwardly at her. Oh please. All the girls will be jealous of me, please. She made her signature puppy dog eyes. Okay. I'll pick you up at 6 today. Hooray. We'll wait. Yuhiko shouted joyfully and ran away. Okay, that will wait, but Nagato won't wait any longer. The Rain Village did not greet me very friendly. Nagato already sensed me and walked towards me. About halfway through, I was surrounded by 4 puppets. One grabbed me and started out my chakra. Well, how long will it last? A couple of minutes later the puppet exploded. Well, let's talk, otherwise I'll get angry and tear out your blinkers. I turned to one of the puppets. And you are strong, but can you stand it? Yahiko Banzho Tennin turned to me. But I didn't even move. In short, I'm tired of it. The chakra receivers of each body disappeared, and the people in cloaks fell to the ground. After looking around, I headed towards the high tower. Quickly finding the room where Nagato was, I easily kicked down the door. Seeing me, Conan wanted to start attacking, but with one wave of my hand I chained her to the wall. Do you consider yourself God? I asked Pain, looking from Conan to him. But tell me first, what right do you have to this? Although, maybe I underestimated you and am too strict about your abilities? Maybe you can summon a person from the pure world? And since you are God, maybe you know someone like you? But this is unlikely. You are simply mocking, putting yourself on the same level as us. You are just dust under your feet. Your strength is in your eyes. But any Uchiha can awaken such ones with a strong desire. Should we then call this entire clan divine? I'll tell you who the gods are. I am the god of the middle division. I can create whatever I want out of nothing, I can heal mortal wounds and diseases, I can destroy your entire village with a click, so much so that there will not even be a mention of it, and I have enough chakra for 1,000,000 infinite Tsukuyomi. Compared to me, Rikudo is a brat and an amoeba. But even despite this, I am only in the middle division. But there are those who are much stronger than me, there are those who call themselves higher gods. Both of them's eyes widened as they told the story. I know the Shinigami himself, I can travel through the worlds 10 times a day, but you can be so poor? I already shouted the last words in his face. Then he sighed, putting his thoughts in order, created a cigarette and a light on his index finger. Lighting a cigarette on it, I continued. I can cure you, but you must promise me to forever abandon your plans to create this GR Tsukuyomi, understand? Nagato nodded uncertainly. Click, and the barrel in which he sat is no longer there. I let go of Conan, and she helped Nagato sit up. Thank you for straightening the brains of this cretin. Conan thanked with tears in her eyes. My pleasure. I waved my hand. Nagato, I see that you are a good person. Besides, you are also an Uzumaki. One day I will have to leave this world. I don't want to leave this world unprotected, so I will need your help. You will become the hero of this world, and God forbid you let me down. I will give you a little bit of my power and improve your eyes. Is there any danger? Nagato asked carefully as Conan stretched his arms and legs. Yes, but with my strength you will stop them. I won't let you down. Nagato said firmly. I hope so, he snapped his fingers. Well, how? I feel power, very powerful, and their eyes no longer consume chakra. I gave you only a grain of strength. Now I understand how strong I am. Yes. Now put your village in order and talk to Yahiko. Click. A redhead appeared before them. Bye, you have 15 minutes. I said and disappeared. When the fox broke out, Orochimaru was opening up another corpse. Since his laboratory was deep, he was not afraid of its destruction, but the sharp silence confused him. After washing his hands and putting on his robe, he headed out. He found himself not far from the clearing where the Ninetails appeared, but the emptiness and ringing silence finally dispelled his doubts. The fox was either destroyed or sealed away. Realizing that there was nothing to look for here, the Sannin headed to the residence. Having disappeared, he approached the office and listened. The conversation amused him and then made him happy. Danzo and the old man are executed, now he can forget about the incriminating evidence, and without it he can talk to the Hokage. But a certain Naruto interested him. If he really is God, then he needs to be more careful. Orochimaru disappeared under the floor. I went to pick up Yahiko as promised. She looked impressive. A black dress, shoes of the same color, stockings and a pair of discreet jewelry. I also looked gorgeous, in my opinion. Red shirt, white pants, white shoes. On top of everything is a robe of the same color as the trousers and shoes. Having created a cane for myself, I put on a Guy Fawkes mask. Yes, I met the fanatic Anonymous in the pure world, I liked his mask. Now I looked really impressive. Having given Yahiko the usual masquerade mask, which she immediately put on, we headed to the square. With a clear gait, I measured my steps and tapped my cane. Yahiko walked confidently next to me, taking my arm. People turned to look at us. Girls from young to old were drooling and groaning. The guys gritted their teeth, but while the shinobi immediately realized who was coming, the civilians decided to teach me a lesson. Hey, you! Shouted an 18-year-old boy. Why are you dressed up like a turkey? Did you decide to hit on our girls? First of all, don't poke me, I'm older than you. I began politely. He began to raise his hand to strike. Why always fists? Leg kick and body crash through trash cans. Does anyone else have a complaint against me? I looked at his friends. They quickly ran to raise their comrade. There were already a lot of people in the square, the merchants did not have time to get their goods, and the poor ANBU made sure that there was no crowd. And although no one had performed on stage yet, the stands were so packed that it was impossible to die. There was a cordon around the stage. The holiday will start at 7, but in the meantime you can take a walk. Yuhiko jumped from one merchant to another. 15 minutes later she had about 30 packages that she hid in the seal. Closer to 7 o'clock we stood near the stage. The heads of the clans were sitting on the chairs, Minato was just getting up on stage. At exactly 7 o'clock all the hubbub stopped. "Dear residents!" Minato exclaimed. "A year ago, a fox attacked the village, but thanks to Naruto Uzumaki, we won and escaped without losses. Today we celebrate not only the birthday of my son, but also our hero. He helped many people and restored our combat effectiveness to the pre-war level. Naruto, come up to the stage," Minato said, getting up and standing behind the podium. The crowd booed. "Thank you. I thank the Hokage. I'm not a hero, I just can help and will, but if they persecute me. I found that guy in the crowd. I'll get angry. Well, now rest." I went downstairs. Then the concert began. After wandering around with Yuhiko for a couple of hours, I saw her off and headed to Minato. After creating the Kakashi stuffed animal, I headed off to a normal birthday party. I changed my clothes immediately after seeing the girl off. The Hokage's house was decorated with garlands and lanterns. Kushina opened the door for me. Walking inside, I found Naruto. He was sitting in the living room, surrounded by small copies from my world. Everyone gave gifts, and their parents sat in the gazebo in the backyard. Having told Kushina that I would come later, he went to the children. Kushina shrugged and went to join the others. "And here is the pink top. Naruto." The little one squeaked and stood up and walked towards me. "Here, this is for you." I gave him the toy. "Thank you." Grabbing the toy, Small tried to go with her, but she outweighed him and then crushed him. The group laughed, but Sakura looked at me shrugging my shoulders for show. I congratulated Naruto once again and headed to the backyard. POV Sakura. We sat in a circle and looked at Naruto's gifts, then there was a knock on the door. He was a tall guy who looked like Naruto at 16, only his hair was white. Looking at its characteristics, I almost crapped myself. Name, Naruto Uzumaki. Title, God of the Middle Division. Level, 99999+. Strength, 9999+. Agility, 5000+. Intelligence, 99999+. Luck, 5000. Chakra, such numbers do not exist. Control, such numbers do not exist. Special skills, God, that says it all. God, what kind of monster is this? I thought, but he disappeared from sight. But instincts took over and we all began to crush the toy in the form of Kakashi. The attacks that were expected any day finally happened. Minato, after consulting with Hiruzen, sent several more squads of shinobi to the border. The entire Leaf Village was preparing for the inevitable war. However, now I decided not to interfere and left all future feats and laurels for Nagato. Let him show himself in solving not very serious, but world problems, since he called himself a god. So I have to act as a third party? Nagato asked in surprise. Yeah, I have to be confident in you, so go for it. I took a couple sips of coffee from the cup. Do you think I can handle it? Certainly. You just need to intimidate Oanoki. He, of course, is still a stubborn sheep, but I believe in you. I patted him on the shoulder in a friendly manner. I even figured out how you will show up to Oanoki. Conan with her wings will appear first, then you. For greater pathos, take a cane, made of gold, for example, throw on a snow-white robe, in short, become like me. Nagato realized his eyes were looking at me. A white suit and a thigh-length robe have become my life companions, although I sometimes like a red set, but white is preferable. Okay, you have a week to figure everything out, see you. I said and disappeared. Conan, cancel all meetings as soon as possible and order the tailors to prepare a black suit for me. Okay, a cane or a robe? The girl asked, writing in her notebook. No, just a suit, and I'm sure I'll have it in 3 days. Fine. Having finished writing, the girl headed out, while Nagato buried himself in writing a letter to the Tsuchikage. Once at the border of the country, I headed to the village of Pesca. There is also some work for me there. But before traveling to the desert, I decided to visit Yugao. After all, I hadn't seen her for a long time. I didn't think things were so bad here. The outpost looked, frankly speaking, much worse than bad. There were holes in the wall hastily boarded up with boards, and in the rings of traps located around the perimeter of the village, half of all the seals were discharged, and kunai and other throwing weapons that were supposed to kill with a joyful whistle all enemies were either broken or simply did not exist. In short, the country's defense industry is shedding burning tears. Having passed the gate, I entered the village itself, where I was greeted by destroyed buildings. As I noticed, several of them were residential. Because they had lights on. 5 shinobi surrounded me. Stand still. You have crossed the border of the fire country, a mature man with scars cutting across his mature face said calmly. Most likely this is the head of the outpost. He put his hand on my shoulder. You are under arrest. We will contact the village hidden in the leaf for further investigation. Idiot, if I were your enemy, then not a single pebble would be left of this already ruined outpost. I sharply moved my shoulder to throw off the Jonin's hand. I also soiled my robe. Weasel, mole, boar, fox, come to me. The named ANBU of this village appeared in front of me. Well, why is everything so bad with your defense? Why is a potential enemy met by several bedraggled shinobi, and not 2 from ANBU and as prescribed by the instructions? The fighters who met me chose not to interfere. If this man commands the ANBU, then he is apparently quite an important shot. We just returned from patrol and didn't have time, the soldier in the mole mask answered uncertainly. As far as I know, 2 people go on patrol. Yes, but there was a signal about an attack on the caravan and, the ANBU stuttered. Then why do you need ordinary shinobi at the outpost? I tiredly rubbed the bridge of my nose. Okay, I won't tell Minato anything. I waved my hand. The holes in the walls began to close, the traps quietly slammed, the buildings were restored. Are there any wounded? There are 4 corpses. Yugao said in a hoarse voice. Others simply watched in fascination as the outpost was being restored. Let's go, I took Yugao's hand, the rest of us should get ourselves in order, I'll check in half an hour. The shinobi fled, the ANBU returned to their positions. Having put her on her back, we headed towards one of the buildings. Tired? Very, she buried herself in my shoulder. I missed you so much. It's okay, you'll be back home in a week. But I still have 3 months here. I don't think so, my future governor must resolve the conflict. I said, opening the door. Apparently this is the house of the head of the outpost. Viceroy? Yugao asked in surprise when I sat her down on the bed. Yes, I'm not going to stay in this world for a long time, there are many more, alternative worlds and other universes. So you will leave? Yugao asked sadly, tucking her legs under her. Why are you so upset? I asked, hugging her. You and Naruto will come with me. Having created donuts and coffee, I give them to Yugao. What? Will I travel through worlds? The girl's eyes lit up with excitement and delight. Yeah, but that's in about 15 years. The little one needs to grow up. The girl was eating donuts. Let's wait, she said, finishing the last bite. You have crumbs. I reached out to her and kissed her. Okay, home soon, I said, looking away from her. More. At home, I said and disappeared. Beach. Yugao, putting on a mask, also disappeared. There were 14 such outposts in total, 2 for each country. The Yugao outpost was located on the border with the stone, which is why there was such devastation. The rest were normal. Once at the edge of the desert, I took off. 4 hours later, the Ania of the village and about 100 chakra sources appeared. There were about 15 jonins there, the rest were chunin and genin. Sand Village has always been weak. The main forces of the village were the puppeteers and shikaku. However, now there are no more than 30 puppet masters left, half of whom are old, and the tanuki maniac is unlikely to help them. The main problem with sand is the small amount of resources. Approaching the passage, several jounins stopped me. The chunin on the wall tensed. Well, I expected it. I removed 1 limiter out of 1,000, now for them I am like Son Goku, but this is 100th part of a drop in the bucket. Purpose of the visit? The jounin asked calmly, but the small drops of sweat gave him away. I want to see your Kazekage, I said, returning the limiter. The shinobi relaxed a little. You understand that if they don't let me in, it will be bad? The shinobi nodded. Don't be afraid, in a couple of hours your village will change. The shinobi parted, but several jonins decided to accompany me. It was worse in the village than when I first came here, tramps, thin people with weathered faces and dry lips. We arrived at the residence to surprised looks. After passing the post, I was sent to Raza's office. Hello, how can I help you? He asked, extending his hand to me. Good afternoon, I shook hands. I'll be brief, I came here for the one-tailed one, but for a reason. What can you offer? I take the one-tailed one, you get resources. No. Raza answered sharply. I can take it by force, but you won't get any help from me. Henge dropped out of sight. The Kazekage swallowed. Moreover, I take the tailed ones from all the villages. I have 9 tails. Okay, but will my son survive? Yes. The tension in the office subsided. What about the village? Raza asked seriously. You get several fresh lakes, I think you'll figure it out. I agree. Of course, this is your last chance. Great, I already took Shikaku, I think now everything will work out in your family. Getting up from the table, I headed out. Oh yes. I snapped my fingers and disappeared. There was madness inside me. Shikaku roared, spat, tried to beat Kurama, but he took him by the tail and threw him against the wall. You, bag of sand, calm down. Kurama roared. Don't shut me up, you flea-loving rug. Calm down, morons. Kurama, why is this bug pointing at us? The tanuki squealed. I'm tired of him, Naruto, take him away. Kurama pleaded. You're safe here, I'll gather you all soon, now go to sleep. Click, the animals fell asleep. Minato. Shikaku flew into the office. The Tsuchikage sent a peace treaty. Sakura. 3 months passed after meeting that god. I wonder why he looks so much like Naruto. Maybe it's him, and the name is the same, it's all strange. Sitting in my room, I thought about this world. As I understand it, the canon is buried here in place of Naruto's parents. They are alive, and Jiraiya doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Maybe Akatsuki isn't and won't be here then. Although they did not immediately become so famous. And how do you know, Mom, Dad, in your world, different from one anime I watched, there is a gang of super strong and dangerous criminals. Yes, after this I will be locked up in the interrogation department for the rest of my life. Okay, let's assume they aren't here, but that's not certain. The most important thing is that Danzo and his henchmen are not here. Then another important question arises. Why would that clown send a guy to a place where he is not needed? Maybe there will be even greater evil here, like those monster lunatics Azuki or someone else. How confusing it all is. Too much information for a small brain. Will Sakura go for a walk? Mom asked with a smile, looking into my room. Yes, I answered confidently and immediately ran to put on my dress. I need any information. Even the smallest grains can help a poor soul like me. Where can I get it? That's right, in crowded places. If I'm lucky, I'll overhear something from the adults. Maybe I'll meet that god. When I got dressed, Dad picked me up and put me in the stroller, and the whole family headed outside. Still, reading about a village in a manga is one thing, but visiting it is another. As we walked past various houses and shops, I only noticed Irika and Mizuki. However, they were only students of the academy. I really didn't manage to find out anything, but in the conversation of passers-by I heard something about the Uzumaki and a few words about their quarter. After a short walk along the streets that were already a little familiar to me, we stopped at a local cafe. Having spotted one charming place by the window, I began to desperately ask to go there. I had a magnificent view, passers-by flashed everywhere. If you try to find out something, you shouldn't miss a single opportunity. Mom and Dad ordered a cup of coffee for themselves, and freshly squeezed juice and ice cream for me. About 10 minutes later this awesome Naruto came in. I didn't even notice him on the street. All eyes turned to the new visitor. The face is very similar to Naruto's face, but older, and there were no stripes. His hair is not a crew cut, but neatly styled, and instead of practical shinobi combat sandals, he wears white shoes. The rest was hidden under a thick, white cloak. Hello, Mabuki, Kizashi and little Sakura, he bowed his head, and his velvety voice knocked the chair out from under me. No, he didn't look anything like Naruto from canon. Ah, Naruto. I'm glad to see you. What's up? Dad asked, taking a sip from his mug. His serenity and eternal optimism always amazed me. Okay, he shrugged, at your place? While he was asking this, I looked at him again. There are no changes in the stats, the same numbers, or rather the absence of them. A couple of minutes later they brought him 2 coffees and a box of donuts. There was a note on one of the glasses, apparently from one of the waitresses. Yes, too, but Sakura is weird sometimes, answered the father. You're lying all the time, Daddy, but you need to keep the conversation going. And Mom nods, traitor. Having picked up his order, Naruto God said goodbye to his parents and headed out, giving me one last wink. Well, shall we go home? Mom asked me. Yes. I yawned for show. That's enough. My first meeting with Naruto was a big surprise for me. He completely disabled my entire body, and Conan won with just a wave of his hand. The Rinnegan burned in the eyes of the winner, but I felt the power from them 100 times greater than mine. How did he achieve this? I thought this would be my end, but Naruto completely healed and increased my strength, and his words that this was just a trifle made me think. I reached the village of Kamnya in a day. Along the way, I met squads of shinobi more than once, but few were interested in the old man, battered by life. I took off my disguise only on the approach to the village. At the entrance, I was scanned by 2 sensors that were hiding underground. One of the jounin attached a tracking seal. I didn't plan to film it, otherwise I'd have an ANBU squad. The village was preparing for active hostilities. I reached the residence in about 20 minutes. Purpose of the visit? Ask the shinobi at the post. Notify that the leader of the Rain Village has arrived. Whispering something to the ANBU standing behind him, he turned to me. "Just a minute, come on in." "Thank you." I nodded and headed towards the office. Once in front of the door, I knocked. "And what brought the head of AIM here?" the old man asked head-on, levitating with his back to me. "I'm not here as the head of the village, I'm a new god." "Pretentious, but what can you do?" The old man laughed. "A strong statement, how can you prove it?" "He reminds me of Hanzo." "With the eyes." He turned around, I threw Henge out of my sight. "Will you check?" "After." "So why did you come here?" Anoki asked interestedly. "Does he already see me as an ally? Although I, as a leader, would also make attempts to recruit strong shinobi. I need from you a peace treaty with Konoha." "No." He barked. "Okay, attack, but I will take their side. It's unlikely that you'll leave here." The old man grunted and flew up to the ceiling. Jin Tun, atomic splitting technique. A cube began to form in his hands, increasing in size. "No, I can't absorb this technique. If I do, it will destroy all my chakra channels." Shinra Tensei. I waved my hand, and the old man was pressed to the ceiling. After the upgrade, my techniques became 10 times more powerful. A couple of seconds later ANBU appeared, but they also ended up on the ceiling. "Okay, I understand." The old man groaned. "Look Anoki, next time there will be no mercy." I turned around and left. "Send a peace treaty to Konoha, and contracts for cooperation to the Raincoats." "Hi!" the ANBU shouted and hobbled out. Yugao. Our outpost was closest to the combat zone. The stone attacked every week and was attacked by troops of seasoned Jonin. What could our Chunin and one old Jounin oppose to them? More or less, our detachment held them back, but we are not omnipotent. There were many reports of a squad of stone shinobi crossing the border. But most of them were just to tickle our nerves, but according to the order, we had to check everything. When Naruto appeared, we had just returned from another failure. Wow, how he tore us apart. I even felt scared, and then he took me to the restored barracks and fed me, for which I was very grateful to him, otherwise I was already tired of the rations and pills. What made me most happy was that I would return to the village much earlier than expected. Now I can more accurately ask Naruto about other worlds. As soon as he broke me off and left, I headed to my people. The old Jounin flooded the bathhouse, and the Chunins carried water. "What did he say?" asked Arik, with the call sign mole. "That we will soon go home." I answered. "Hooray!" Yumi, with the call sign fox, squealed. "The bathhouse is ready." The Jounin reported. "Ladies first. You will wash your things yourself." Yumi snorted and grabbed me by the arm and led me in the direction of the bathhouse. It didn't work. I heard a sigh. "Pathetic bastards. How did you even have the nerve to do something like that?" Shinigami growled. He stood in the middle of a large hall, furnished with various ancient vases. The souls of the dead flew from below to the supreme god. Each of them alone is quite weak, although they have their own consciousness. But these little lights flying out of ancient and slightly ugly vessels become stronger because they serve as Shinigami. Those who worshipped and believed in their god, whoever he was, were sure to gain strength by his side. Therefore, the soul is somehow drawn to the gods and other spiritual creatures. This is how armies are born. Divine armies. What is important here is not your wealth, what you had during your life, but faith. The stronger the soul believes in its god, the more it relies on him, the more strength it gains next to him. The Shinigami army has always been famous for its strength and numbers. But not every god is ready to risk those who are ready to fall into oblivion for his sake. Your bones will turn to powder and scatter in the wind, your skin will cover the entrance here, and everything else will be given to the guard dogs to be devoured. Let's see, old man. The man with red eyes threw away another soul that tried to attack him. It was clear from the troublemaker that this was quite difficult for him. More and more lights accumulated around him, turning into brave samurai. Boy, you're playing too hard. The god of death thundered, summoning more and more of his loyal warriors. No, soon we will destroy you, and then all the worlds will belong to us. Recognizing the inequality of forces, the invader decided to retreat and, throwing back the attackers, disappeared into the portal. The supreme god stopped calling souls. Despite the size of the army, it took too much of his strength. Taking a breath, the Shinigami headed towards his throne. Naruto, come quickly to me. God said and leaned back in his seat. Shini's voice caught me halfway to Konoha. Sighing and straightening my cloak, I headed to meet with myself. Pointing my finger at the sky. As soon as I entered, I felt a huge amount of spiritual energy. Moreover, there was so much of it that the gods of the lower division could not approach the door to the throne room of the god of death. This could mean that Shini was summoning a soul. Did he fight? On the way to the throne room, the amount of energy grew, therefore, it became much more difficult to walk. In the hall itself, Shinigami sat as usual on his throne. Shini, get all the energy out of here, otherwise I'll do it. Naruto. It seems like he was so lost in thought that he didn't notice me. You don't have enough strength to carry out this threat. The supreme god grinned slightly. The pressure stopped. The Shinigami didn't like it when anyone even slightly tried to deny the fact that the supreme god was the most powerful of all. Sit down, the conversation will not be easy. I already understand. I decided not to give in to him, and a golden throne appeared behind me, and a cup of coffee in my hand. Showed off? He said with a grin. Yeah. I nodded and took a couple of sips of the invigorating drink. Do you remember our conversation? Shini asked, to which I nodded. They started to act. The recruitment of neutral gods has begun. Gods? But this shouldn't be such a big problem. There aren't many of them, are there? Not really. Those gods you saw here are only a small part of the total. There are about 30,000 gods in total. Old man, you are probably lying. Tell me, how many real gods are there in the world and how many of them are supreme? And how big is the problem? It's unlikely that bigwigs like you will help the eyes. My interlocutor sighed sadly. Wait, isn't it because I ask so many stupid questions and the answers to them don't give me complete information? It's like I'm back at the academy, where I was considered an idiot in everything. To make it easier for you, Naruto, to understand, I'll go back to the basics. Me, Alona, Koto Amatsukami and Kamui are all considered supreme gods, and they are considered my sisters. Besides the four of us, there will be 100 more, and they are also our brothers and sisters. Almost each of us has our own pantheons with our own gods of the middle and small divisions, and not a single god living in his pantheon can go to war against my brothers or sisters. But the rebels, Shinigami spat at these words. All prohibitions are alien to them, but like any god and patron, they need nourishment, and for this they need the pantheon, so they are ready to get involved in any war. Wait, are you talking about? Don't interrupt, I'll tell you, and then you can ask your questions. I nodded and created another cup of coffee. There are not many rebels, but they are all quite strong, at the level of the same Izanagi and Izanami. That's basically all for now. Now ask. Why don't White Eyes attack other pantheons? They are exiles, and the only pantheon that their little hands can reach is mine. But with you, I think we can defeat them. Shini said quietly. But how can they recruit other gods? Any patron can call, but who will respond is another matter. Who are the patrons? It seems like I've been god for 2,000 years, but I know almost nothing about them. Weak gods who live only at the expense of the pantheon. If he doesn't exist, they won't exist. It's simple. More often used as messengers from the gods to people. I see, but that's not all, is it? They recruited Sasuke. Shini fell silent and looked at me. What? I jumped up. Sasuke, it can't be. But what did they give him? Chakra fruit? Yes, now this is Sasuke with the power of Kaguya from your home world. Okay, I'll deal with him later. I leaned back on the throne, returning the coldness of my mind. So who is opposing us? There are about 1,000 white eyes, and 3 of them are very strong. Your friend Uchiha, 10 rebels and 3 kuramas from different worlds. Tough. Yes, we need a clown. We must seal it before the war starts. Who knows what he might do? The Shinigami fell silent and then said. Everyone, quickly come to me, Jashin, grab the clown. Let's go to. Shini told me and headed towards one of the doors. The hall we entered was all studded with runes and some kind of writing. In the middle, above a huge hole, hung a cage on gold chains, with hieroglyphs on each link. On the cell itself there were seals, there were 10 of them, apparently intended to fight the power of each god, who bestowed part of the power on the circus performer. Reinforced room, protection from all kinds of influences, the cage is indestructible, completely sealed. Seals and runes protect against any surveillance, so that not even a single supreme one will find it. The chains wrap the cage in a cocoon and lower it 666 meters underground. Before this, each seal is filled with energy. It will last for several million years. Then all this is laid with rune stones and covered with another layer of seals. Shini told me while we were waiting for the others. Powerful. The only thing I managed to say. After a few minutes, other gods began to appear. Kotoeme Tsukumi from Kamui also appeared. True, their faces were hidden behind hoods. Shini. The clown kicked as Jashin led him. Don't put me there, we're friends. It's my own fault, said Shinigami. And he helped Jashin put him into the cage. The cage slammed shut and the runes lit up. Stand in a circle and place your hands on the seals, Shini ordered. For about 10 minutes we pumped up a lot of energy, but it was worth it. Next came the sealing process. When the last seal flashed, we exhaled. I feel them, Kamui said. There are a lot of strong sources. Behind me, Shini shouted, and we headed to the throne room. Once there, we stood in a row. The vessels of the god of death caught fire, a portal appeared behind Amaterasu, and the others began to adjust their artifacts. I'm standing alone with a cup of coffee. The portal opened and before us appeared many white-eyed people, puppets, 3 foxes and 1 Uchiha next to a large man, on whose shoulder sat a skinny one, and behind them hovered another skinny one, but with strange similar to fishing rod. Let the battle for dominance begin. The skinny one shouted on his shoulder and laughed. Uzumaki, now you will see my power. The Uchiha shouted, and Rinne's Sharingan with 9 tomo lit up in his eyes. The battle will be hot. Otsutsuki's 10 army, puppets, rebels and the rest of the rabble, as Shini called them, against his 1,000,000-strong army and 2,000 gold guards of Amaterasu, for high and 7 simple gods. Let's see what happens. The puppets were the first to rush into battle, and the warriors of the goddess were against them. Bo's golden staff appeared in her hands, and Amatrita's rushed to the attack along with the guards. It looked impressive, especially when the puppets burned from being hit with a staff. Having finished my coffee, I also decided to warm up. On our side, only Amaterasu and I with the guard decided to join the battle for now. As soon as I rushed from my place, the nipple jerked towards me. Well, it will be interesting. An exchange of a couple of blows, then a kick to the chest. Sasuke was disorientated for a couple of seconds, and my overhead kick crushed him to the floor. The Uchiha grabbed me by the ankles and dragged me underground, just as Kakashi had done to him. Once in the ground, I felt a foot come down on my head and drive me in like a nail. Only a shock of hair stuck out. Having smashed the floor and grabbed the Uchiha by the chest, I took off in the same place as him. Having thrown him about 40 meters, I created 20,000 clones and did what I had long dreamed of doing with Sasuke. With a cry of Uzumaki, the clones began to strike. Despite the fact that my opponent repulsed more than half of them, he, even with his eyes, did not count over 40,000 blows, but my eyes caught every blow and knocked out tooth. As soon as he began to fall, the remaining clone and I launched a simultaneous uppercut from both sides. I think Taijutsu is behind me. I grinned, looking at the bloody mess called Sasuke. Uzumaki. He growled, stopping in a split second. The good Adama appeared behind him. I create a shield from Koten, strengthen it with a thin layer of Goodadam and a seal of absorption. Sasuke's balls merged, and a katana appeared in his hands. Sasuke is a master of kenjutsu, even I admit it. Sasuke attacked first, I parried the blows with a shield or dodged. Without the Sharingan only samurai could resist him, and not all of them. Maybe create an army of steel samurai? I dodge and, intercepting the katana, break it, and while it has not recovered, I send the Uchiha flying. Looking around, I notice that all the gods have entered the battle. Jashin, waving his scythe, chops down the white-eyed ones like firewood. Amaterasu destroys the last remnants of the puppets. Susanoo helps nearby. Her guard has greatly thinned out, a little more than 200 remain. Kotoama Tsukumi and Kamui took care of the foxes and Skinny with a fishing rod. Tsukumi helps there. The Shinigami sends hordes of souls at the big guy and the remaining skinny one, who is covered by Otsutsuki. Izanami and Izanagi are behind the god of death. The fight is getting hot. Sasuke came from behind. I throw it over my shoulder and shoot with a water pistol, but hit one of Shini's vessels. Con for me. Sasuke found himself on one of the pedestals. A second later a huge wall of flame flies towards me. Suetun, water wall. The wave of water exceeded the size of the wall and extinguished it. 6 perfect Susanos were moving towards me. I create 2 golems and a Goodadam and jump on one of them. Now planetary technicians will go into battle, the gods will survive, but the rest are not a fact. To begin with, I create 3 planetary Raisin Shuriken from Goodadam and send them to Susanoo. 6 reinforced arrows of Indra fly towards them. That's it, the end of the theater. Only the gods and Sasuke in their Susanoo will survive. The fight below stopped, everyone stared at the 8 huge creatures and the gigantic size of the techniques. There were 3 seconds left before the technicians collided. The grin flew off the face of the skinny one on his shoulder. Collision. A colossal burst of energy and a bright flash illuminated me so that I couldn't even see the tip of my nose. A minute later the glow stopped and I looked around. Susanoo is gone, Sasuke is lying there, barely breathing, the little one is exhausted. Although I'm no better, such a surge knocked enough crap out of me and now I have the same chakra as Sasuke at the beginning of the battle. I dispel the golems and go down, breathing heavily. But what I saw next disheartened me. Kotoama Tsukumi and Kamui lie pierced by strange white blades. A clear liquid oozes from the wounds. Isn't that the kind of blood the gods have? Amaterasu also lies with exactly the same blade in his chest. Jashin cuts down Izanami and Izanagi, Shini lies behind him, Tsukumi and Susanoo approach them, not in a friendly mood. Jashin grabs Shini and looks sharply at me. I quickly find myself nearby and then a portal opens and we disappear. AD. We found ourselves in a warm, endless cave. And this is? And where are the chains, fire, sinners, but there is a throne, standing on bones. Jashin is lying unconscious, he only had enough energy to move. Shini cleared his throat, but did not get up. I fly up to him and raise my head. Shini, how is it? Traitors, they will never die, Naruto, my time is coming. He coughed. No, what about me? How about Jashin and Alona? What about revenge? A lot of questions, but it's more out of hopelessness, shock and pain. The old man was my second Jiraiya, but he didn't steal. Sannin's death hit me hard, and now I'm losing another mentor. Tears appeared involuntarily in my eyes. Jashin will take my place, he has more experience in dealing with the dead. As soon as he takes my place, he will appoint a new governor here. The old man coughed again. Alona is already far away, I suspected traitors, but could not identify them. So he sent her away. You will take revenge, I am sure. Before leaving I will give you the ability to return souls from the other world. Shini was already wheezing. Taking my hand, he passed a current of energy, and then an hourglass appeared in my hand. A gift from Alona? I smiled through my tears. Get it together, Naruto, the gods do not cry, and you can say you have risen to the level of the highest. Yes, good luck, Naruto, I hope we won't meet again soon. Tell this to Jashin, he knows what to do. He put the ring in my hand and smiled for the last time and disappeared. In the place of the old man, only a tanto and a rosary remained. Without saying a word, I created a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of cognac. The first 6 pieces flew away, the tears have already stopped flowing. I uncorked the bottle and drank half of it. 10 more cigarettes followed, but most of them simply smoldered. Having finished the bottle, I noticed that Jashin has already recovered. Without saying a word, he sat down next to her. Here, I hand him the pack, he obediently takes it and lights it. Then I give him the ring, tanto and rosary. Now you are the new god of death. The new baked one's eyes widen, but he obediently accepts them. Tell me what happened. I hand him a bottle. After everyone stared at you, Tsukuyomi and the others stabbed them. Daggers of death. This is the only thing that can kill a god. After this, his soul goes to infinity. He took a sip from the bottle. Since I was closest to the Shinigami, noticed that both Izanami and Izanagi pierced him, then I drew my dagger and the Shinigami's dagger, and then killed the traitors. The rest you already know. But what prevents them from using them again? They are for one time only. After that, Jashin on the bottle. Now I need to regain my strength. How does time flow here compared to my world? Jashin showed 1 finger, then 10 years? He nodded. That means 1 day here, 10 years there. Okay, I'll leave Jashin alone, I need a year to restore all supplies. Jashin, will they be able to find you? No, Shinigami is the only one who appears here. I'll be back in half an hour. As soon as I recover, we will destroy the rebels. Agree? I extended my hand to him. Death to the rebels. He shook hands in response. I nodded and disappeared. Palace of the Death God. Jashin, without the artifacts and the old man, we won't be able to unseal the god show, and the throne won't accept me. Susanoo was angry. Are Izanagi and Izanami alive? Bloody mess, Jashin tried. Tsukuyomi sighed. Now we are definitely finished, we have lost the army. Sasuke is dead, his eyes are sealed, the only thing we got is Shinigami's bony ass. Well, yes, they will return, and if Naruto restores his supplies, then they will have an army. Susanoo tried to sit on the throne, but could not. The path to is closed to us. Naruto world? Yes, he obviously won't expect it. But do you think Shinigami left him without gifts? Susanoo asked, kicking the throne. Of course not, the old man was very powerful and his gifts were appropriate, we need support. Maybe I can help? The surviving Otsutsuki was moving towards them, with 3 red fruits. Woke up from a dry smell. Opening my eyes, I began to turn my head. On the nightstand is a wine bottle with 2 glasses, leftover fruit and an ANBU mask. HM. I listened to the sensations. The naked Yugao was pressing hard against me, and I had no doubt that it was her. Holding the girl close to me, I buried my nose in her gorgeous hair. She, throwing her graceful leg over me, pressed herself even closer and snored peacefully. Having calmed down my hormones, I thought about water, and immediately life-giving moisture appeared in my mouth. Just as I was getting ready to fall asleep, I felt them. Getting out of the hug, I threw on my cloak. I'll put on the rest along the way. The girl woke up, but I quickly put her to sleep. She didn't need to know. Minato is clearly already aware and rushes there, and there is also Nagato, but they are smart boys, and they probably won't climb without me. Minato-sama, a huge surge of energy has been detected. 15 kilometers from Konoha, said the ANBU who appeared in the Hokage's office. Chakra? No, our sensors see this for the first time. Is Naruto in the village? He asked, preparing to teleport. His chakra has disappeared. Okay, Fugaku and Hayashi are there, as well as 2 ANBU squads. The Hokage ordered and disappeared. Nagato, Conan said excitedly. I felt it. Uzumaki notified her, jumping from one of the pipes. He slept rarely and only when his body required it. Stay here, I'll be back soon. He hugged her and disappeared in a flash. Hope. She answered into the void. It is beautiful here, Tsukimi said as she looked around the majestic forest that Hashirama had created. Don't get distracted, Naruto is very strong even in his current state, Susanoo said irritably. Unlike the goddess, he didn't like the forest at all, it even infuriated him. He is here, Otsutsuki said and pointed a pale finger forward. The Rinnegan was burning in Naruto's eyes, Gudadama was levitating behind his back, and the energy emanating from him pressed on all 3. He seems angry, Tsukimi said uncertainly, moving behind God. Come on. Did you think he would come out to meet you with gingerbread? Susanoo quipped, trying to hide the rolling fear. He felt similar energy from Shinigami when he was angry. Well, kids, let's play. Naruto bared his teeth, which made him look even more like the god of death. Who can I kill here? Susanoo? He has absolute protection, with my current strength I can't break through it, I don't know his special abilities, other than the standard set. But he is afraid, and that's the main thing. Tsukimi? It sucks energy, can impose very terrible genjutsu, but also send the world there, that's all, and well, the standard is like that of a rebel, he's more afraid of me than the same Susanoo, a good girl, but she'll still die. Otsutsuki? The most cowardly one, hopes for the fruit of the chakra, well. Naruto. The goddess squealed and rushed towards me. I stood up, but she fell at my feet, it's all Susanoo with these bastards. She pointed to the white-eyed man, who grimaced and looked at her with contempt. I didn't want to, they forced me. She smeared snot and tears all over her face. I'm ready to become your concubine, I'm ready to fall at your feet, just don't kill me. She actually burst into tears. It gave me no pleasure to watch the goddess being humiliated. A pathetic creature, unworthy of life. Pushing her away, I placed my foot on her throat. To die, he will not die, but the sensations will not be pleasant. Creature. I pressed a little harder. Tsukimi began to wheeze. Well, will you help out your girlfriend? I turned to the rebel, he just shook his head. Do you see? I leaned towards the goddess. They killed together, but died separately. Isn't it ironic? Why do you need this? I asked, removing my foot from my throat. We wanted power. For what? Do you have any idea what responsibility Shini had? I turned to all three. Then Minato appeared, and Nagato next to him. Stand there. Don't come any closer. They nodded and retreated. He transported souls, kept track of the balance, you idiots. But you wouldn't have done it anyway. Despair flashed in Susanoo's eyes, the white-eyed one looked away, Tsukuyomi roared. What would you do with me? I asked more calmly. Seal. She croaked. How was it with Kaguya back in the day? She nodded. This means that it was not her sons who sealed her, but a couple of unlucky rebels. One less mystery, but now a logical question arises. If she's sealed, is there an alternative threat from her? Although if I prevented her from eating the fruit, then the goddess is no more. Okay, this is all a chore, but we need to check everything carefully. As soon as I'm done here I'll go through the worlds. I broke the neck of the goddess, but something was wrong. I noticed a weak, small light that fluttered out of Tsukuyomi's mouth, the soul. My eyes went up to my forehead, that's what Shini meant when he gave the ability. The light darted towards me and disappeared, and then a strange pendant appeared on my neck. As I twirled it in my hand, I noticed a miniature version of Tsukuyomi darting around in it. Now you. I pointed my finger at Susanoo. But in response, he wrapped himself in armor. Tatsuka's sword and Yada's mirror appeared in his right hand. How will they end up with Itachi? Or are they true artifacts, and the older brother of my childhood sworn friend simply has a weaker version? The reinforcements are neither alive nor dead, of course. If I were Minato and the others, would also eat, 20 meters high from Susanoo. I will do my best to kill you. He shouted. Are you hoping for art? Oh well. I create a golem, strengthening it with natural chakra, and then apply armor similar to Susanoo. I struck first, but he parried it, so I'll have to use my sword too. The blades clashed. A wave of energy swept away a row of trees. Minato and the others covered themselves with barriers in time. I wasn't worried about them. But the white-eyed one ate the fruits, all three at a time. Poor thing, he would be torn apart. Prepared to repel his attack, I returned to God. The blades clashed again, the shock wave tore out the trees, the support barrier sank, but they quickly restored it. Kato, all who consume the flames. A huge wall of fire burst out of the golem's mouth, but I dispersed the growing fire with a futon. The temperature was colossal. Atsatsuki, who confidently ate the last fruit, escaped with a severe burn. The god's armor melted in several places, but did not disappear. The mirror absorbed 90% of the equipment. The reinforcements took cover behind a stone wall and added a couple of barriers. Give up. There's less and less chakra, and then there's Atsatsuki. Shut up. Susanoo shouted and his armor returned to its original state. Just as I was getting ready to start the battle, I felt the white-eyed one rushing towards me. I create a clone and send it to distract the latter, and also hand it over to reinforcements so they can take care of him. Nagato must survive, and there is also Minato and 2 dojutsu carriers. I don't perceive the rest of the crowd as a serious opponent for the white-eyed one. Having made sure that nothing would fly into my back, I entered the head of the god, who was distracted by the battle of an ally. Now the battle will take place on the lava mountain. This is exactly what God's inner world was like. He sat in a steel box surrounded by a moat of magma. Come out, you pathetic creature. I shouted. Well, I'll go out, and what next? His voice echoed. I'll kill you and go on to sleep. How simple it is for you. He grinned. Like you, have you even thought about the consequences? I sat down on the nearest stone. Well. Okay, let's imagine the picture. Have you killed everyone who would take the Shinigami's place? And Jashina? I am the Shinigami's place, Tsukuyomi Jashina. He continued to broadcast from the box. Do you even know their duties? transport souls and sort them. Yeah, you understand that every soul has its own thoughts, its own fears, its own will. The Shinigami suppressed all this, and then decided where to go, who to be reborn, who to Jashin, and who to Jodo. I would suppress them. He objected. But I did sow confusion in his mind. You can't suppress your emotions. And when there are millions of them? You'll go crazy. I sighed. Come out and die as a worthy opponent, or I will destroy the pathetic coward. What will you do with me? He asked, climbing out of the box. I'll give you a choice, either death and infinity, or a slave like Tsukuyomi. Death. He responded coldly, and at that very moment was pierced. I again found myself on the same golem. The enemy's armor began to disappear, and he himself began to sink to the ground. As soon as Susanoo's invincible armor disappeared, I dispelled the golem. Phew. I'm tired. Chakras are like in kurama, for me it's like chakra depletion for a genin. Bad, but not fatal. Approaching him, I bent down and prepared a dagger. Now I understand everything. He said hoarsely. Sorry. Apologize to Shinigami. Yes, he stared at the night sky. Soon, goodbye Naruto. As soon as he finished speaking, I cut his throat. But instead of flying towards me, she rushed upward. The help had already finished off the enemy, but they looked bad. Minato is covered in cuts, almost no chakra, a broken leg, nothing fatal. Nagato looked better. There are no serious injuries, but like Minato, he has little chakra. The heads of the clans were generally cucumbers, as were the ANBU extras. I poured chakra into them, and without explaining anything, I disappeared. Somewhere between worlds. I stood at the crossroads of millions of roads, each leading to one of the portals. I have already searched more than 100 worlds. Kaguya is also sealed there, but Zetsu is nowhere to be found, and apparently does not exist at all. Now I had the choice to explore further or return. After thinking a little more and taking a sip of coffee, I stepped into the next portal. Konoha. 2 women with huge bellies were walking along the quiet streets of Konoha. One with fiery red hair and blue eyes, the second is a brunette with eyes as black as tar. Both are dressed in spacious sundresses, simple flip-flops on their feet, and piles of bags in their hands. Oh, Kushina sighed. How hard it is. This is only your second, I will have a third. The Uchiha grinned and carefully stroked her stomach. How is Elder? He's been missing for about 6 months now. Uzumaki sighed and sat down on the nearest bench. He is independent, he decides everything himself. What did you want, friend? The Uchiha asked, sitting down next to him. He is 2,000 years old, he killed Kami, he has such techniques. Hashirama is a puppy compared to him. Yes, but still he is my son, albeit from another world. Uzumaki roared. Ooh, let's go get you some herbal tea. Fugaku brought me from Kusa. Yes. Kushina squeaked and trudged after her friend. Somewhere in one of the worlds. A scorched world, a depressing sight. Consequences of the 4th Shinobi World War. There are no more countries here. No shinobi, nothing at all, just a group of survivors. In addition to searching for traces of Kaguya, I destroy everything connected with the gods, and a lot is connected with them. In every world, I destroyed everything. Techniques, artifacts, temples, all the followers. There are no more gods, there is only the Pantheon and me and Jashin. In this world they did everything for me, but Uzumaki Island is not a lot of things. Weak barriers, simple traps, nothing more. Apparently they only have to fear the beast. Out of 1,000,000 people, 1,000 remained alive, half of whom were children and old people. As soon as I passed the first barrier, I was surrounded by local aborigines. Beards, torn clothes and bouquets of diseases. Who are you? I somehow made out the sounds. I didn't answer, I just killed him. This world has died, and there should be no one left alive. Having passed the last barrier, I entered the village. After examining what was left of the shinobi world, I stepped back and removed all protection from the island. Having flown in, I once again examined the ruins and the hiding people. Shinra Tensei. A single clap and the island disappeared underwater. There's nothing more to do here. I opened a portal and disappeared into it. Somewhere between worlds. 140 years, what is that to God? Crumbs. There is only one world left and you can go home. After all, I haven't been there for almost a century and a half. And for the rest it's only a year and a half. Having opened the portal, I stepped into it. Somewhere in the last world. I found myself near Konoha, but different from mine. Tall buildings towered over the village, not like those in Amma. A few minutes later I found myself at the gate. Everything was also a checkpoint, but there were no ANBU in the hidden cavities of the walls. The purpose of your visit to the village? One of the gatekeepers asked lazily. The second one was sleeping safely. Are Izumo and Kotetsu related? I'm a traveler, exploring the world. I said the first thing that came to mind. Okay, I'll write it down now and you can go ahead. He still lazily took out the card and asked. First and last name? Akarino Ikaira. I took the name of the former head of Uzumaki and the abbreviation for Ichiraku. Here you go, now go to the residence, there's the red building. He waved his hand and sat back down. And I went to the Hokage. The village was blooming and smelling. New buildings, new shinobi uniforms, everything is new. After a second, I looked up at Hokage Mountain. Yeah baby, I'm the Hokage, yuhu. What also surprised me was this huge colossus driving along strange paths. Looking around, I began to think how old I was here. More like about 30, give or take 2 years. The residence has not changed from the outside, but is fundamentally different inside. Approaching the counter, I greeted him and asked how I could get to the Hokage and showed him the pass. Here, she handed me the card back. Go up to the 6th floor and wait. Thank you. I nodded and headed towards the stairs. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a group of genin with a mentor. It was an easy mission, I didn't even break a sweat. A blond boy of about 13 said, throwing his hands behind his head. Walking next to him was a Uchiha girl who looked at him annoyed. An exact copy of Sasuke and even a look. And a smiling pale boy with a snake-like face. Orochimaru had a child? Konohamaru has changed, he has become a meeting, he is no longer the goofball, but there are still childish sparkles in his eyes. Boruto, as usual, you're taking all the credit for yourself. The Uchiha snorted. But no. He waved it off and looked at me. What kind of strange guy is this? He asked Sarutobi. Now the Jonin's gaze fell on me, and the others too. This doesn't concern us, let's go past the mission. He led the team to the counter, and I headed to the Hokage. Having risen to the indicated floor, I found an office and knocked. Permission to enter was heard behind the door. As soon as I entered, the door slammed shut, Shikamaru wrapped me in bonds, and the Hokage set up a barrier. An amateur, he ruined the revival of the clan, and he also squandered the technology. Who are you? He asked sharply. Hermit. You're lying. He narrowed his eyes. An ordinary shinobi cannot have that much chakra. Yes, you have the same reserve as 3 me, not to mention 1,000 limiters. I figured it out. I raised my hands. Both of their eyes widened, and Shikamaru even fell to his knee. He just devastated me. He groaned and slid down the wall. Now let's talk. I installed a more powerful barrier. Yes, I am very strong, I am God. Pretentious, what can you do? I don't need the second Kagaya. He said coldly and entered Rikudo mode. Calm down. I removed 5 limiters. The Hokage sucked in a breath, but did not fall. You understand that I am stronger. An attempt is not torture. He said. Weasel sound the alarm, everyone in the shelter. Even shinobi. He said imperiously. Yugao disappeared into Shunin, taking Shikamaru. The siren sounded. We have 20 minutes. I will not cause harm. I barked. I don't care. We fought the gods and I don't trust them anymore. He's right, here they were just swinging against the Jubi, Kagaya and 2 Jinchuriki of the 10 tails. He has a reason not to trust me. What should I do to make you believe? It's okay, I have nothing to do with the gods. He snapped. A minute later Sasuke appeared. Naruto, are you in trouble again? The Uchiha asked mockingly. We have a second Kagaya here, the male version. He nodded at me. Youngsters, I am 100 times stronger than their mother with increased heart rate. The fight cannot be avoided. This means I will be on equal terms with them. It's okay, we managed it once, and the second time too. The Uchiha said arrogantly. Is everyone in the shelter? Yes. Yugao reported. ANBU are not supposed to interfere and it is better to hide in the barracks. Said the Hokage. Come on. Well, are you ready? Sasuke took off his cloak, Naruto took off his cape, I want the same one only in gold. Just like the good old times. Uzumaki answered with a smile. Go. The blows of both of them missed. Grabbing them by the legs, I smashed them through the wall into the street. Having taken off, he looked around. It was as if they had died out, even the iron colossus had stopped. 2 shinobi flew towards me. The game has begun. Guys, let's have peace. I asked hopefully. I have already mentioned. We have nothing to do with the gods. Uzumaki answered harshly. Naruto, check his speed. Said the Uchiha and activated Manjikyu in one eye and Rinnegan in the other. I also did not remain in debt and removed the illusion from my eyes. It's crap, I don't want to admit it, his eyes are stronger than Rikudo's. Let's check now. Uzumaki answered, launching the Gudadam. I dodged, but I missed a blow to the jaw. I'm faster. Slipping my jaw back into place, I shook my head. Well, everything is small, you will get it in the ass, and even your mother will seem like a rabbit, white and fluffy. It hurts like. Sasuke, we seem to have angered him. I see without you. Enraged. A click and both have chakras at the bottom. I am God, explorer, scientist, to some extent. I don't consider myself a shinobi. I have lost the habit of swinging my fists, I have limitless possibilities, I am the strongest in the pantheon, Jashin will not soon gain the power of Shini. And I was hit by such an all-powerful youngster? Unthinkable. The 2 strongest shinobi were breathing heavily. But they continued to float on the platforms made of Gudadam. I can fight with you, but the destruction will be colossal. I looked at the demigods with superiority. But you can help me and everyone will receive a reward. Don't kill me with your eyes, it won't work. I barked. Okay, let's listen. The Uchiha gasped. You are clearing out all temples and sects where any gods are worshipped. Don't touch people. For what? Uzumaki shouted. Because there are no more gods. You consider Rikudo to be a god, there he was not even considered a patron. All. Do you agree? Yes. As a reward, I want to talk to my parents. Uchiha. Me too. And this is already a blondie. With parents? I clarified. And our children should see them, added the Uchiha. Acceptable. A week later at the gate, I answered and headed to Uzumaki Island. Sasuke's portals and Naruto's speed are an explosive mixture. Konoha. Yugao walked quietly through the quiet square, carefully stroking her stomach. Yes, our god dropped by home, sorry I missed it. I'm in my 9th month and in a couple of weeks I'm already giving birth. Getting pregnant is a gift for a shinobi. In total, no more than 100 shinobi children are born per year. Yugao, as an ANBU, had access to this information. Most shinobi either do not return from missions or do not want to start relationships because of the former. But she was lucky, and now she was wondering how strong their baby would be. She was distracted from her thoughts by a call. Yugao. The Hokage's wife waved her hand with a stroller and a little boy holding her by the hem of her sundress. Kushina-san. She smiled warmly and walked towards them. Hello Naruto. Hello. The blonde smiled. Despite his incomplete 3 years, he already spoke coherently. Although shinobi children develop quickly with the right approach. How do you feel? Uzumaki asked. Everything is fine, how is Mito? Eats a lot, sleeps soundly. Uzumaki joked. This is good. I wish Naru would come back soon. Must be in time before the birth. The red-haired girl hugged the girl. I hope so, Yuzuki muttered, she really missed her. Let's go for a walk, the former ANBU nodded to this. Uzumaki Island. Another view of the destroyed village. Again, forgotten techniques resting under hundreds of barriers and traps. Again the island disappeared under a layer of sea water. The Uzumaki knew too many techniques to interact with the gods. Too many people have died for them. Now you are forgotten by people, no one will disturb you, he said quietly into the void. Thank you, came to me. A week later I met the demigods at the gate. How did everything go? I asked point blank. Made. Sasuke replied lazily. Okay, keep the advance. I nodded and threw the scrolls to both of them. Sasuke is for your eyes, and you are a barrier amateur. I looked at the blondie. He faded under the gaze. Techniques of our clan. I will not give you techniques for interacting with the gods. You know the reasons yourself. He nodded. We're going to meet at Naruto's house in the evening. Why at me? Because Sasuke's apartment isn't that big. Out of the corner of my eye I noticed the Uchiha's mocking gaze. See you later, I winked and disappeared. I found myself on the roof of one of the skyscrapers. I took out a cigarette and lit it. Tomorrow I'll be home, finally. We're sick of these worlds already. 10 years ahead was enough. Although it was fun, I didn't like killing people. And not all worlds were whole. The main thing is that Kaguya is not an overgrown cactus. Having dusted myself off, I decided to take a walk around the village. Progress here has stepped far forward. Everything looked modern, there were large shops here and there, not shops like ours. Tall buildings, huge screens on which the news blared and much more. Walking past one of the cafes, I noticed a group of genin. Having strengthened my hearing, I sat down on a bench with my back to the building. My father lay in bed for 3 days. But he is beautiful. I saw him when we were returning from the mission. He has eyes like Sasuke-san. Rather, my father's eyes are like his. They are listening to us. Wow, a powerful sensor. Okay, let's disappear. The time before dinner flew by quickly and now I was already standing at the door. The door was opened for me by a smiling Naruto, behind him stood Sasuke, leaning against the wall. Hello. Come in. Said the owner and, together with Sasuke, headed deeper into the house. Taking off my shoes and raincoat, I went into the kitchen, combined with the living room. Hinata and Sakura were busy around the tables, and a girl of about 8 was running behind them. "Hi all." "Hello." The girl smiled at me. "Hello," both girls answered, "this is Hima." Hinata smiled warmly at her daughter. "Hima, go call your father and brother." "Fine." The girl nodded and left the kitchen. The girls returned to serving, and I continued my inspection. Noticing the album, I asked, "Can I take a look?" "Certainly." Hyuga smiled. "Thank you." Nodding, he began to leaf through the album. There are a lot of photos, but the especially important ones take up a whole sheet. The day Naruto became Hokage, then birthdays, entering the academy, a couple of photos with the company. There are even photos of Kushina and Minato, as well as Niji. After looking at it for another minute, I put it in its place. By this time everyone else had arrived. "Hello," said the children. "Hello. I create Hime a teddy bear." "Hold it." The girls' eyes lit up with joy. But the rest, well, except for the demigods, were looking for jaws on the floor. "Thank you. Can we eat now?" Naruto asked. Hinata, having recovered from the shock, invited her to the table. After eating we moved to the living room. "Now my reward for your help." Everyone tensed. Hinata activated the Byakugan. Summoning souls, I created bodies for them. "I'll tell you right away, no more than 6 hours. Of course I can resurrect them, but why?" Everyone nodded in agreement. As soon as I snapped my fingers, the bodies came to life. "What are we doing here?" "It was I who called you." I answered. "You will be back 6 hours later. Now allow me to take my leave." "Thank you." The 4 souls nodded. "Thank you. This is Naruto and Sasuke." "You're welcome. I'll stop by again." I winked at everyone and opened the portal. "Goodbye," I heard before the portal closed. Somewhere in the land of fire, Orochimaru was sitting in one of the shelters. Tomorrow he will receive the child of God. And there is no one who can stop him. Orochimaru-sama. The squads are ready. Great, send them to the village, I will arrive at dawn. As you order. Kabuto bowed and left. Soon. Orochimaru bared his teeth and licked his lips. Yuhiko took a sip of the coffee her partner had brewed before he went to bed. It was 5 in the morning and the shift was due to arrive soon. Monitoring the signal barriers was one of her squad's tasks. In general, the detachment in which Yuhiko serves was engaged in the security systems of the village and rarely participated in power operations. "Everything is quiet?" Yuhiko shuddered. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." "Yes," she answered and turned to her interlocutor. She recognized him immediately. A mask covers the half of the face, one eye is closed, the other expresses fatigue. Kakashi Hatake, her immediate commander. "Be on your guard, I have a bad feeling." Hatake sighed. Half of the ANBU were also sent to guard. Naruto-san should have returned by now. He'll come back wherever he goes. He smiled with his eye. But then one of the barriers worked. "Declare the alarm, Taicho will stay with you," Kakashi said in a tired voice and disappeared. The girl had already pressed the button when her partner ran out of the room and stood near the door. "Many people want to get Naruto-dano's child." "Yes," the ANBU said with hidden fear. She was afraid for her friend and for her future godson. 10 kilometers from the village. The ANBU patrol unit was the first to enter the battle when they spotted a squad of 30 shinobi. 8 elite fighters against 30 chunin, that's what the censor said. And the squad leader mentally rejoiced that the Hokage had strengthened the border troops, as I knew. Although, the son of Naruto Dano is too tasty, thought the commander as he batted away another kunai. Use area techniques, if possible, take a prisoner. The commander shouted, killing another enemy. Hi! Everyone responded and intensified the onslaught. Village center. Even at night, life was in full swing in the center, people walked here and there, various signs were lit, the inviting voices of sellers and the bass voices of tipsy shinobi could be heard. The alarm sent everyone into a stupor, but when the ANBU and some of the jounin appeared, people realized that an attack had happened, although they didn't know why. Everyone line up and follow us. The ANBU in a white cloak said in a commanding voice. We will evacuate, you check everything and close everything you can. The commander has already told one of the jounins. He nodded and the shinobi dispersed in the center. Behind me. The ANBU commander shouted and walked forward. 2 fighters jumped onto the roofs, 3 more covered the crowd from behind. While the people were moving, he noticed the same chains and the same ANBU. The people were moving towards Mount Hokage. On the mountain, wherever possible, ANBU stood mixed with jounins, 3 chunins stood near the entrance and let 10 to 15 people through. Let's not crowd, take turns. One of the chunins said. Then there was a flash, the Hokage appeared next to one of the ANBU. All? He asked the fighter. All those who were on the streets, the rest will arrive in about 30 minutes. The ANBU thought, the Hokage nodded and thought, it reminds me of Kushina's birth. You gave us Naruto's work. Minato grinned and disappeared in a flash. Somewhere not far from Konoha. Your task is to install this. Sannin pointed to 4 scrolls in front of him. At the points marked on the map. Then hold them until the morning. As you order, Orochimaru-sama. Answered the 4 shinobi. Don't let me down, or I'll kill you. Orochimaru licked his lips, the 4 shuddered. Ran away. Grabbing the scrolls, the shinobi disappeared. The main thing is to be in time. The snake sighed and disappeared underground. Village center. Orochimaru. Why can't I move? Where is everyone? I shouted into the void. I am amazed at your strength. The snake clapped and appeared in front of me. You felt me under the hiding seals. Don't forget. I looked contemptuously at the snake. I admit, I'm afraid of you, but the records from the Yuzukige's personal library will keep you in this state until the morning. The snake licked its lips. I spent half my life opening the Yuzukige's personal library, I changed hundreds of bodies, I almost went to Shinigami 3 times. I don't care. Just dare to touch my child. I will erase you from the universe, I will personally torture you in, believe me, I have such an opportunity. I shouted. Perhaps, but it won't be today. Stay safe, Naruto-kun. The Sannin hissed and crumbled into snakes. Snake. What kind of monster was Yuzukige that he was able to restrain even God? Okay, I'll deal with this island later. We need to find the one who powers the seals. Oh, there are ANBU nearby. Orochi, you don't even know half of my strength. Having determined the place where the fighter was, I shouted. Fighter, come to me quickly. Naruto Dano? What are you doing here? Shut up and listen. Tell the Hokage that Orochimaru wants to attack the hideout. He nodded. Then tell Kakashi to sweep around the village and kill the enemy on the spot. Hi. He nodded and disappeared. This is why I love ANBU, they never ask too much and listen right away. It's okay, we'll play again. Nose itchy. Hokage's office. Minato sat back in his chair. Once the civilians were in the hideout, Minato sent most of the ANBU and shinobi to the patrol units. The rest to Yugao, since Orochimaru should appear there. Naruto is out of games right now, at least until Kakashi finds the seal. Hokage-sama. One of the remaining shinobi flew in. The city substation has been destroyed, the backup one will start working in an hour. How long will people survive without ventilation? The estimate was for 3 hours. The shinobi sighed. About 50 years ago. It's about 30 minutes now. Badly. Maybe attract Okiji and Yukiji? Exactly. Minato was inspired. In 10 minutes at the ventilation shafts. Come on. 10 minutes later, 5 shinobi stood at the ventilation shafts. The Tsukichi brothers are 2 ANBU from the Hokage's personal guard and a shinobi who reported on the substation. Don't let me down, guys, there are 200,000 people there. Air for about 15 minutes. You offend me, said one of the brothers. Go? Asked the second, and the first nodded. Futon, great rush. A stream of fresh air poured into the mines. You know, Yamamoto-san, this technique worked for the first time. The brothers smiled. Before there wasn't even a light breeze. Yes, I'll put you on trial. The shinobi shouted, more for show. A chuckle was heard from the ANBU. Somewhere behind the wall. Kakashi moved quickly, his main task was to free Naruto Dano, the rest would come later. The first enemy was found immediately, it was some kind of mutant demon, and no matter in what order, he looked disgusting. Orochimaru-sama gave me strength, the hand that pierced the area of the heart did not allow him to finish. You talk a lot. Kakashi threw and destroyed the scroll. Then a short phrase appeared in his head, thank you, I almost died. Kakashi smiled and moved on. So the fat guy couldn't handle it. The mutant girl sighed, Kakashi grimaced. Orochimaru-sama wasted his strength on him in vain. Well, no matter, no one can resist my genjutsu. Demonic flute, phantom shackles of sound, the mutant played a melody and Kakashi began to melt. Pfft, these ANBU are so weak, she didn't have time to finish. An abomination. ANBU destroyed another scroll. Then he met a mutant spider. Since Kakashi was very afraid of spiders, he simply burned the ghoul without even allowing him to speak. Well, that means I'm alone. Not just one brother, together. I'll bury you together. Kakashi decided to finish everything quickly and quickly pierced the chest of both brothers and, having destroyed the scroll, retired to the grass. Thus, the personal guard of the great Sannin Orochimaru ceased to exist, and with them the technique that held the very evil god. Third person. Monstrous energy emanated from him. The stone crumbled under his feet, the vegetation dried up, and every living creature suffered in agony. Previously, he would not release this energy without a reason, but when the life of your child is threatened. There was a little more than a kilometer left before the shelter when hundreds, if not thousands of shinobi appeared in front of Naruto. True, the look was unnatural. God shuddered, as he felt the souls and the pain that they were experiencing. The crowd rushed to the attack, throwing iron, techniques, wielding swords and simply throwing themselves into hand-to-hand combat. What he avoided, destroyed something, but sent every soul to Johto. The hordes kept coming, where did you get so much material? The blonde thought as he sent another soul to be reborn. Jashin, what are you even doing there? The blonde shouted. I have enough other problems here. Finish with the kite and blow towards me. My girl gives birth, my people die. Okay, just don't delay and come to me. You've got a lot of support. The army stopped, then lights began to fly out of each one. Mountains of corpses remained on the battlefield. Kato, great fire incineration. Making a seal, the blonde exhaled a huge wall of flame. The fire consumed everything in a matter of minutes. The blonde rushed further, and where the scorched earth was, new grass grew, the trees returned to their original state. Asylum. Ashura and Yuri. Yugao gasped. Great names, Naruto Dano will. The elder Irionin did not have time to finish. I agree, but Naruto-kun is busy right now. Orochimaru came out of the shadows. His appearance left much to be desired. The skin was hanging in pieces, the clothes were torn, one arm was dangling and there were a lot of wounds. But the snake didn't seem to notice this. Twins. I was counting on one, well, a backup option wouldn't be superfluous. The snake licked its lips, it looked disgusting. The ANBU beat me up a lot, but who are they and who am I? You're a corpse. Naruto. Everything is fine, dear, it's time for you and the children. The blonde snapped his fingers and he and the snake were left in the room. Send the snake. A strange chain wrapped around Orochimaru. Then a portal opened and both disappeared into it. AD. So. The blonde sat down on the throne and crossed his legs. An impressive scroll appeared in his hands. What do we have here? The scroll unfolded and Naruto went deeper into reading. Orochimaru was chained to the wall. His arms and legs were pierced with stakes and his mouth was gagged. Countless Sanbon loomed opposite. Murders, inhumane experiments, kidnapping and holding people hostage and blah blah. The blonde threw away the scroll. You scoundrel, you decided to play with death and you lost. One Sanbon pierced the body. You read? The snake nodded against his will. Great, then we'll make your schedule. The blonde returned to the throne. Fear. Sticky, burning fear flowed down my back. For the second time in its life, the snake experiences fear. Although the main fear was sitting opposite me and scribbling something on parchment. Orochimaru's consciousness was leaving. Orochi. What do you want, little one, to sleep in? You can't, you still have 1,001 more torments. Naruto grinned. First, the hot twigs. Then a bath of sulfuric acid, stretching of limbs, poking with a pitchfork, then lunch and again. Closed Monday and Wednesday. There you will communicate with souls. 3,841. You've killed so much in half a century. The sentence is 10,000 years. The blonde snapped his fingers. The portal opened and the shackles flew off Orochimaru. It's time for me to correct your mistakes, and it's worth seeing the children. Good luck, see you in 10,000 years. The blonde stepped into the portal. A heartbreaking scream reached Naruto. Welcome to, creature. The portal closed. Hokage's office. How many? 120 ANBU, 544 shinobi. There were no civilian or genin casualties. Thanks Yakido, I'm free. As soon as the shinobi left, Minato leaned back in his chair and tiredly rubbed the bridge of his nose. The hand itself reached out for a small bottle of sake. But the Hokage pulled his hand back. 3 more reports, and then we can remember. Minato, don't be mopey, I'm having twins. Snake for re-education. Naruto put down 2 bottles of cognac. The village is intact, and I will resurrect the people. But now I'm in charge of everything, and not everyone is destined to die today. So everything is fine. Listen to the reports, call Jiraiya and wait for me. I'll be there in about 40 minutes. The blonde snapped his fingers and disappeared. Hokage-sama. I know, call Jiraiya to me and everyone can rest. The alarm has been lifted. Hi. The joyful shinobi ran away, and Minato thought, it's time for you to erect a monument to Naruto. The Hokage smiled and turned to the window. The village came to life. House of Uzumaki. Naruto quietly walked up the stairs. Snoring could be heard from the bedroom. Quietly opening the door, he looked around the room. His three main treasures were sleeping peacefully. Two of them had chakra channels leading to their eyes. Naruto sent a clone, and he lay down next to him. Not a clone? Yugao asked quietly. No, congratulations, our children have Rikudo eyes. Okay, now let's get some sleep. Having said this, Yugao began to sniffle. Yes, it won't hurt. The blonde stretched and the blanket covered the bed. He hasn't slept for a long time, it's time to catch up. Who will let him sleep? The crying spread throughout the house. Did you think it would be quiet here? This isn't Yuri and Hamura. These are two Hagoromo, and their strength is not inferior to him. Yugao, let's get the mammary glands, the children are hungry. Naruto fidgeted and wrapped himself in the blanket. In response, a pillow flew at him. Diapers are on the dresser. So you will change it. Yugao shouted and hugged the children to her chest. It's not good for God to change diapers. Naruto muttered. I now have two of your protégés in my hands. They ate, by the way, go change them. Naruto sighed, turned and took the children. Pat them on the back. Well, it's not a suit. This is karma. A minute later a sniffle was heard. Having carefully laid the children down, Naruto began changing the diaper quietly, swearing. The chemical weapons were disposed of and he took out powder. Two jets washed over the blonde. Okay Ashura, but where are you going, Yuri? The kids just smiled and cooed. With difficulty, the diapers were changed. A minute later the children were already snoring. The suit changed to pajamas, the children found themselves in rompers. Grabbing the children, Naruto lay down on the bed, the children fidgeted on their father's chest, buried their heads in their necks and fell into a deep sleep. You will be a good father. Yugao muttered through her sleep and pressed herself close to the blonde. Yeah. The blonde snapped his fingers and a clone appeared in front of him. Find out what Jashin has and unwind. The clone nodded and disappeared, and God finally fell asleep. Somewhere. Jashin examined the strange gap. When Naruto left him in charge, he was happy. But realizing the scale of the work, he swore at him. Then the bastard Orochimaru was not resurrected, souls told him for a long time who he was and where he should go. True, now Orochimaru is in and Jashin's essence was warmed by this. What do you have here? A clone appeared next to God. Look yourself. Jashin pointed to the gap. 4 clowns, building a castle. Yeah, but these 4 weirdos are protected by 2 entities. High order, like us. And the middle ones, such as Tsukuyomi. Okay, fence off this gap for 15 years. Then I will go to this world. As you say. Jashin was obedient and didn't ask too much. If necessary, he will do it. Congratulations. Thank you. The clone extended his hand and God shook it. We'll wash it somehow. The clone winked and disappeared. Jashin smiled and sealed the portal. The sun was rising over the village. But people were no longer sleeping, hammers were knocking here and there, colorful banners and balloons appeared, a stage was being built in the central square. Naruto's friends and acquaintances were preparing gifts. Well, our story begins in the ANBU barracks. What will we give Naruto Dano and Yugao? Kakashi asked all ANBU personnel. What does a young family need? Naruto Dano will create what he needs himself. Toys, there are never too many toys. Quiet. Hataki's tired voice quickly calmed the crowd. Tenzo will take care of the fountain. Yuhiko, Rikani, Takia are responsible for purchasing diapers and baby undershirts. Kakashi thought about it. Just take off your uniform, otherwise we won't survive. Laughter was heard throughout the hall. The rest chipped in 500 ryo. No one objected and gave the money to Hataka. Hold it, He gave the money to the girls, they ran away. The hall is empty. And Kakashi took out a book and, sitting down near the ceiling, began to read. House of Hokage. What will we give them? I'll give you a drawing. Naruto showed a daub, but Yugao and Naruto were clearly visible in it. Good girl, go play with Mito. Kushina pushed her son out and closed the door. Darling, what can you give to God? The Hokage leaned his elbows on the tabletop. He can create everything, by everything, he knows the technology even without us. Then we need a gift for the children. Kushina began to think. Toys. A lot of toys. Minato, bring your stash. The habanero's eyes lit up with the fire of anticipation. But you have your own money. Mine is mine. Nisi said. Kushina shouted, putting the frying pan back in place. Yes, darling. Minato got up from the floor and trudged into the room. Naruto's house. Yugao woke up to someone poking her in the side. Yuri tried to roll over, but kept bumping into her mother's side. Yugao stood up and took the baby in her arms. She, in turn, feeling the warmth, pressed closer to her mother. Where is your folder? The kunoichi asked, rocking the baby. In the bath, Ashura went a lot. A voice was heard from the next door. Yugao chuckled at this. Yuri, not paying attention to this, reached out to her mother's chest. Ashura doesn't want to eat? She asked, pulling off her t-shirt. He wants to, he crumpled all my pajamas in the chest area. Naruto replied as he walked out of the bath. Ashura was really trying to feel for something. Hold it. Uzumaki gave Ashura to his mother and went downstairs. Where are you going? Prepare breakfast. At the table, Naruto created 2 child chairs. Yugao sat down between the children and began to wait, simultaneously wiping the kids' drool. Toast, jam, pancakes, and your favorite omelette. Thank you. Yugao kissed Naruto on the cheek. What's wrong with Orochimaru? It's okay, he'll spend a little time in. Uzumaki took a sip of coffee. Then I'll return it. For what? You need such a cow yourself. No matter how ugly he is a strong shinobi, a genius. Konoha needs these. Besides, we won't be in this world for long. How many? About 15 years, I need to learn Yuri and Ashura. Then gather the tailed ones and seal this world. Naruto finished his coffee and began to collect the dishes. Why seal it? I want to save this world. There are too many powerful creatures outside of it. Naruto, after finishing the dishes, took the children in his arms. Get ready, it's time to go for a walk. The girl nodded and went upstairs. Naruto and the children went to the living room. 20 minutes later they left the house. Children in strollers, Naruto in his favorite white suit, Yugao in a spacious lilac sundress. The children's eyes glowed purple, the father's eyes glowed gold. Both there and there the power was felt. People smiled and congratulated the young parents and waved to the children, not even suspecting that these 2 children could destroy the whole world. Naruto Dano, Yugao, Kakashi appeared next to him and bowed. Hello, carbon copy. Naruto smiled. Morning, Kakashi. The girl also smiled, holding Naruto's hand. By the way, Kakashi, close your eyes. The ash-haired man automatically closed his eyes. Putting his hand on the carbon copy's eyes, Naruto released divine energy. Open it. What did you do? How do you feel? Yugao stood in shock. The world has become clearer, too. Kakashi listened to the sensations. My chakra volume has tripled. Eternal Mangekyu Obito, plus you will spend less chakra on its use. Well, the reserve is a nice bonus. Thanks again, Kakashi, and don't worry about the graders from the Uchihas, they owe me for the rest of their lives. Naruto took Yugao's hand and went further. She, moving away from shock, waved to Hatake. And the only owner of the eternal Manjikyu was left standing in a stupor. And for what? Yuzuki asked with a smile and pressed herself against the guy's shoulder. Deserved it. Yes, I agree, and here comes Kushina-san. Yugao unstuck herself from the guy's shoulder and waved. Kushina also waved and walked over. Mourning doves. The scarlet-haired girl kissed each one on the cheek and sat down in front of the stroller. Naruto and Mito also looked at their nephews from behind their mother. Hello. The elder Naruto nodded. And a little hello to you too. Big brother, this is. Yeah, your nephew and niece. Yuri, Naruto pointed to the girl, Ashura, pointed to the boy. Now have fun, see you at the party. The blonde disappeared. Business again. Yugao sighed. It's about Obito. Kushina said with a slight frown. Okay, let's not talk about sad things. Look, the children have already found a common language. Mito and Naruto Jr. held the chubby hands of their nephews. Investigation Department, Level 6. 6th level of the Investigation Department. The most dangerous criminals are kept here. Only 3 people have access. Head of the Investigation Department, Hokage, and head of ANBU. Others are not allowed to enter. A massive door filled with fuin opened. As soon as Naruto crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut, and the fuin lit up with crimson fire. Naruto Dano. Ibiki, the head of the Investigation Department, bowed. Well, what's wrong with him? Prisoner 669, Uchiha Obito. As soon as Ibiki said this, a cage grew out of the ground. Obito was in a straitjacket, with a fuin seal on his eyes. He's silent, we didn't break the seal. Look. Yes, open the cage. Marino folded the seals and the door opened. As soon as Naruto entered, the Daznovic folded the seals in reverse order and the door slammed shut. Obito. Raise your head. The prisoner raised his head. Fuinjutsu, spiritual cleansing. Naruto pointed his hand towards the heart area. From a huge surge of chakra, all the fuins covering the room lit up. And Ibiki fell unconscious. Ibiki rise. The blonde snapped his fingers and the shinobi immediately came to his senses. Sorry. Ibiki shook his head, made the seals and the door opened. Naruto walked out, dragging Obito with him. Nothing, he's clean. I erased all memories after his apparent death. Then tell him what you want. I'll report to the Hokage right now. Taking the Uchiha from Uzumaki's hands, Ibiki headed out. And Naruto just disappeared. Even the Uzumaki seal is not worth it to him. Ibiki slammed the door. Evening. Konoha Central Square. Naruto and his family took the most honorable places on the stage. To the left of them sat the heads of the clans, to the right was Kushina and the children. Behind them stood a line of ANBU. At the very edge there was a stand, near which Minato stood. The main festivities will begin after the speech. Dear residents, shinobi. There was silence in the square. Today we honor the hero of our village. Uzumaki Naruto. Minato raised his hand, stopping the crowd from screaming. And also his children. Minato raised his hand again. Naruto please. Then pointed this hand at Uzumaki. The crowd started screaming, hooting and clapping. The heads of the clans also clapped, but with much more content. Thank you. Naruto raised his hand and the crowd calmed down. I am very glad that you all love me, and I promise that I will make this world a better place. The crowd clapped even harder. And the last thing. The blonde turned to Yugao, the crowd fell silent again. The girl stood up, handed the children to Kushina and headed towards Uzumaki. as soon as she approached the blonde knelt down and took out an open box. "Yugao Yuzuki, will you marry me?" "Yes." Naruto stood up and put the ring on his lover's finger. "By the power given to me by Kami, I declare us husband and wife." Naruto kissed the girl. A lot of clapping was heard. The heads of the clan stood up and began to congratulate the young people. "Next are Minato and the Steel Ones. Naruto-sama is the best." Screams were heard from all sides. "Go for a walk, people, today everything is at my expense," Naruto shouted. Then came gifts and congratulations from ordinary people and ordinary shinobi. The village walked until the morning. A new chapter has begun for the entire shinobi world. A new beginning. "Naruto, Mito, breakfast." Kushina shouted as she laid out the pancakes on plates. "It smells so delicious." Mito jumped out first and immediately sat down at the table. "Did you doubt it?" Naruto lazily and waddled down, sitting down next to him. "Let's eat, otherwise you'll be late." Kushina sat down opposite with a cup of coffee. "Mom, do you know the composition of the sensei?" Mito asked with her mouth full. She was a year younger than Naruto, but her big brother took care of her and took the academy together with Naruto. "Well, don't talk with your mouth full." Uzumaki's hair lengthened and gave the girl a slap. Without even feeling it, she continued to devour her mother's cooking. "I only know one." "Shall we bet, big brother?" After chewing, Mito extended her hand to her brother. "You will lose." Naruto snorted and took a sip of the juice, but extended his hand. "We play for desire. It's covered, you guys." Kushina's hair was cut by the hands of the debaters. Through her brown eyes, Mito noticed her mother's slight nod. "Now run. Irika won't wait long." Kushina stood up and began to clear away the dishes. "Yes." Nodding, the children headed towards the door. After putting on our shoes and grabbing our scrolls and a snack, we headed to the academy. There was no crowd near the academy. People, clans and ordinary shinobi free from missions crowded everywhere. Having bypassed the crowd, our couple slipped through one of the windows and headed to the third floor. Entering the classroom, Irika greeted them and pointed to the empty seats. One seat was next to Hinata. Naruto immediately took it. The second one is next to Sasuke, whom Mito couldn't stand. Sakura was the last to enter and sat down next to Shikamaru. "Silence, now I will announce the teams." Irika cleared his throat and began to read. Team number 1, Iner Uchiha, Taito Genchi, Sanji Daidi. Mentor of Anko Mitarashi. Something flew into the window. "Those idiots, follow me," she shouted. "How uncultured." Uchiha Inara snorted. Mitarashi immediately appeared behind him and grabbed him by the ear and led the class out. "Let's continue," Irika said. "Thinking who will pay the bill for the window." Team number 7, Sakura Haruno, Uchiha Sasuke, Mito Namikaze. Mentor of Obito Uchiha. The named person entered the class. He was dressed in a standard jonin outfit. The only thing that made him stand out was that the right side of his face was completely covered. "I'm waiting for you on the roof." Nodding, Obito disappeared into the shunshin. Mito jumped out the window, grabbing Sakura. The Uchiha trudged out irritably. Team number 8, Naruto Namikaze, Hinata Hyuga, Sai Yamanaka. Sensei Naruto Uzumaki. Irika said and smiled at the blonde who was looking for his jaw on the floor. "Why are we sitting?" Naruto found himself behind the students. "We move the rolls onto the roof." And repeating the trick, Obito disappeared, only without any effects. "Let's go." Having found Naru Jr.'s jaw, he grabbed Hinata, who immediately hugged him, and jumped out the window. Sai jumped out after him. Academy roof. Naruto was talking to Obito about something. A couple of minutes later their students appeared. After shaking hands, the sensei and the students went in different directions. Before this, Mito stuck her tongue out at Naruto Jr. "So, let's get acquainted." Naruto Sr. sat down on the railing with his hands in the pockets of his iron trousers. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the older brother of this idiot." He pointed to Naruto Jr., Jonin SSSSS plus class, according to documents. Uzumaki laughed. "I like coffee and donuts, I don't like traitors. Now you." Sai Yamanaka. "Genin, I like to draw and water flowers. I don't like the night." "Fine." Naruto nodded. Hinata Hyuga, "Genin, I love training, I don't like when they shout at me, I immediately hit." The girl lowered her head in embarrassment. Okay, next. "Come on big brother, you know me very well." "And they too." Naruto rubbed his bruised head. "Firstly, this is not respect for your comrades, and secondly, I am your sensei." Naruto Jr. rubbed his head again. "For prevention, now introduce yourself." Naruto Namikaze, "Genin, I love Hinata, I don't like Sasuke." What Sai wrote down in his notebook, Hinata buried herself in Naruto Jr.'s shoulder. "Great team, now on to training." Uzumaki thought. "Can everyone walk on surfaces?" The children nodded. "Great, now we always move to the training ground only along the walls and roofs." "Clear. So we will increase your control, because that's what control is? The most important thing for a shinobi." Sai answered. "And why?" "Because even those who have little chakra can defeat someone who has a lot of it, only through control. And this is Hinata." "Right. And now training ground number 12. I'll expect you in half an hour." The Uzumaki disappeared silently. In short, the training ground is 10 minutes away at a calm pace. "So let's have a snack?" Namikaze asked, the others nodded affirmatively. Naruto unsealed a small tablecloth, some onigiri, and 2 bowls of ramen. Sai took out 6 skewers with dango, Hinata took out fruits and a flask of water. Itadakimasu. Naruto began to eat, everyone took what they wanted, no one was against it. "Not a bad team, what do you think?" Naruto asked Obito. Both stood on one of the lightning rods, under the blonde's invisibility. "Yeah." The Uchiha sighed and looked at his students. Sakura sat with a bored look, Mito enclosed Sasuke in a barrier, leaving him without a scroll of food. "But mine are so-so. Do not worry." Naruto patted Obito on the shoulder. "Remember yourself and Kakashi. That's why I bothered Minato for you, he's still worried. Understand?" "Yes, you are right. I have to instill in them team spirit." Obito disappeared and found himself in front of his students. Naruto looked around at his students. They decided to poke around, leaving the clone behind. After all, they'll be sleepy, oh well. He waved his hand and decided to listen to Obito. "Sakura is bad. Why didn't you stand up for Sasuke?" "Why, it's my own fault." "Pfft," the Uchiha squeezed out. "In short, tomorrow is training ground number 7. At 9 in the morning, it is advisable not to have breakfast. Till tomorrow." Obito Ashunshinal. And Naruto headed to the training ground. Test site number 12. Naruto sat with his back to the entrance and read. Feeling the students, he said without turning. "Attack. Your goal is a book, you have an hour." He raised his hand. "I give you permission to use all your techniques." "Oh, let's beat my brother. Whoever touches him last leads everyone to Ichiraku." The partners nodded in unison. "So. I will be a tank, Hina, your task is to distract him and bind him with taijutsu, my clones will help. Sai, your task is to pick up the book. Come on." Let's go, Databayo. Naru Jr. created 10 clones and they, together with Hinata, ran towards Naru Sr. He stood up and closed the book, shrinking it and putting it in his pocket. Putting his hand in his free pocket, he began to dodge the clone's blows, blocking Hinata's taijutsu with one hand. 8 trigrams 16 palms. Hinata tried to hit the sensei, but he covered himself from all attacks with Naruto clones. Not bad. 16 palms in 13. Naru Sr. nodded. Grabbing the girl by the hand, he sent her to sleep. Sai attacked him from behind. Ninja art, top-class animal imitation drawing. A dozen animals rushed at the elder Naruto. Having dispelled several of them, the sensei of Team 8 felt the barrier. With difficulty turning his head, he noticed a tense Naruto. He held the seal, but it was clear that it was very difficult for him. Come on! The blonde shouted. Sai spread ink, and the real one jumped out from below and snatched the book. Stop! Sensei waved his hand. Hinata woke up, and the Uzumaki barrier was gone. Now everything is in a circle. As soon as everyone stood up, the sensei began. You showed excellent results. But most importantly, you know how to work in a team. Which made me happy. And now I'm free, I'll wait tomorrow near the Hokage's residence at 9 in the morning. Don't forget about roofs and walls. Whoever comes on foot will plow for everyone. Naru Sr. has disappeared. Well, no one touched the sensei in the end. Hinata sighed. Why did I touch? Sai smiled. So you pay, Databayo. The blonde smiled. I'll pay too. Hinata said. Where are you going without me? Naruto waved his hand. And hugging his friends, he led them to Ichiraku. A chuckle was heard in the shadow of one tree, and then silence. Naruto came home and immediately took off his clothes, exchanging them for home clothes. 2 heads poked out from the living room. Another one from the kitchen. Hello, I'm at home. Naruto smiled as he put on his slippers. Dad. Yuri jumped into her father's arms. And Ashura and I were offered to take the exams as an external student. This only happened during the war. Hi dear. Naruto let go of the girl and hugged Yugao. Be proud, but don't be arrogant. Father smiled. Now off to training. Having created a clone, he sent it with the children. He himself walked with Yugao into the kitchen. How do you like your team? Yugao put the cup of coffee on the table and sat on the blonde's lap, hugging his neck. Great, they know how to work in a team. According to the strength of the Chunin, in a couple of years they will become Jonin. And with the letter S, Naru smiled and took a sip of coffee. Great team. This makes me happy. The girl smiled and laid her head on Uzumaki's shoulder. Now let's go and watch the training. Taking the girl in his arms, he headed to his personal training ground, hidden by the most powerful barrier. Minute to minute, well done. Naruto Sr. examined his students. And so are the plans for today. He took out a notebook and opened it. 3 D-rank missions, then control training. Then I'll take you out to eat, and then go home. You'll be free at 3 o'clock. 3 missions? The younger one was indignant. Can't you handle it? The elder raised an eyebrow. I can handle it. Namikaze shouted. Okay, it's all over now. Uzumaki took out 3 scrolls. Weeding the garden, cleaning Inazuka enclosures and eliminating weeds at the training ground. Ugh, Inazuka enclosures. Hinata grimaced. Hinata, missions are different. You may have to lie down in a stinking ditch to disguise yourself. And the shinobi profession itself is dirty. Uzumaki said with a wise look. So get used to it, Hina, and now to the roof and to the Inazuka quarter. Naruto jumped onto the roof, the others followed his example and hit the road. Inazuka Quarter. As they approached the block, the team was stopped by two chunin. Seeing who came, they parted. The team walked deeper into the block. Welcome. Naruto stopped. The enclosures are there, it's an hour for you. Uzumaki pointed towards the western wall. And I'll visit Tsum. And disappeared. Clones? Naru Jr. asked. The rest of the genin nodded. It was clear that they recognized Namikaze as the unspoken leader. Having summoned several dozen clones, Naruto sent them to the enclosures. Hinata sent one, Sai also sent one. Now let's go to Hana. Naru Jr. waved his hand towards the building where Inazuka Veterinary Clinic was written above the entrance. Today there were few people, and most of the veterinarians were free, as was the head of the clinic, Hana Inazuka, and our genin headed to her. After knocking, Naru Jr. opened the door. Ah, hi Naruto-kun. She waved her hand, signing some report. Hana, Hawaii. My friends and I are not on a mission here. Naruto walked into the office, leading the others with him. Hinata and Sai. He pointed to his friends one by one. Shall we sit at your place? Certainly. The girl smiled. As I understand it, they sent the clones? The girl asked, taking out cups and a teapot. Yeah. The blonde nodded, scratching the back of his head. Big brother took 3 whole missies, we need to do everything in time. It's clear. The girl poured the tea and moved the mugs. Help yourself, how do you like Naruto Dano as a mentor? The girl took a sip from the mug. It's too early to judge, but he knows a lot. Naruto twirled his mug. I'll tell you a couple of rumors about him. Hana put down her cup and leaned back in her chair. He is the first to know everything about our world, all known techniques, even Hijitsu. The second, he has perfect control. They say he can stand on one finger, on a needle that is placed on a peak. Hana fell silent. Liars, perfect control, this is even purely hypothetically impossible. Even a father who knows senjutsu can at most stand at the peak, and then only for a short time. Maybe. Naru Sr. appeared behind them. Behind me. The sensei of Team 8 walked out the door. 15 minutes later, people gathered at one of the training grounds. Everyone was interested in what the most famous shinobi in the world would show. Having created a pike and several platforms, Uzumaki took out a needle. Having secured it with chakra, he took off his shoes and stood on it with the toe of one foot. Waving his hand, and the pike grew as did the platforms. Naruto folded his arms over his chest. Kami-sama. One of the Inazuka Chunin shouted and fainted. Perfect control. A wave of his hand brought the Chunin back up. Now we can go on to the next mission. Uzumaki jumped down, removing the platforms and pike with a click. What's next? He took out a notebook and scribbled something in it. Weeding gardens and weeds, you can use clones for this. The students created clones. Great, now to the training ground. The elder jumped onto the roof and ran towards the training ground, the team followed him. Polygon number 12. At the training ground, the sensei of team number 8 felt unwell. Jumping to the ground from the tree, he fell to his knee. Sensei? Hinata landed next to her. Are you okay? I don't know, my body is constrained by something. Naruto was already sitting up. Great cleansing. Having folded the seal, Uzumaki hit himself in the chest. Nothing, this is strange. Fuinjutsu, great spiritual purification. Naruto said, placing his hand on his chest. Hinata and the others nearby were crushed by energy. Even that didn't help. Naruto thought about it. How are you? Everything is fine. The genins answered in unison. Looks like the Uzumaki technique again. Naruto spat. But this is no longer good. Uzumaki twitched. What else happened? Naruto asked worriedly. Most of the village is unconscious. I, too, will pass out soon, but before that, the blonde snapped his fingers. Everyone who is passed out is in the shelter. Yugao with the children and Kushina with Mito are fine. Minato is not in the village, he is in the capital. And lastly, Naruto, come on. Without finishing speaking, Uzumaki fell unconscious. The training ground immediately covered the barrier. If my brother was taken out of the game, then the enemies are not simple. Naruto stood up. As soon as we leave the training ground, the barrier will not let anyone through, absolutely, no matter what powers they have. Okay, let's go, we need to get to my brother's house, follow me. Naruto ran to the exit, the others ran after. The team ran across the rooftops and looked around the village. It was as if she died out overnight. The baked goods on the shelves were still hot, many shops and stalls were open. They reached the house 10 minutes later, a crimson barrier shone around them. 2 Hyuga stood on the inside and drilled into the space with their Byakugan. Naruto stopped in front of them. Team number 8. Temporary commander of Naruto Namikaze. Come on in. Hyuga nodded. The team went inside. Hinata-sama. One of the guards bowed to the girl. Only you, your sister and the 2 of us are in the ranks of the clan, the rest have disappeared. Everyone is in the shelter. Hinata answered. Who came there? Yugao came out of the house in ANBU uniform. Where is he? Hush, little sister Yugao. Big brother is also out. Clear. The girl sighed. Come into the house. Keiichi, she turned to one of the guards. In an hour you will be replaced by Uchiha. The guard nodded. There were several dozen people in the house. They were discussing something, and when they saw the newcomers they fell silent. In general, I am the temporary commander of team number 8. Naruto was extremely serious. Everyone who is passed out in the shelter, Big Brother is not playing either. Many sighed when they learned that their friends and relatives were safe. Bad, but not critical. An adult copy of Shikamaru stepped forward. I am Deputy Hokage-sama, Shikaku Nara. I have already sketched out a plan of action. Now you and Team 1, 7, and 10 are running through the villages, closing all the shops, stores, and then patrolling the surrounding area. When you see an enemy, inform me and retreat. Shikaku gave everyone radios. Captains Shikamaru and Naruto. In the kitchen you will receive food pills. Yes. The genins nodded. Team number 7 is behind me. Naruto headed out. But then Kushina came out. In order. The scarlet-haired girl exhaled and hugged her son. Where are you going? Mom, we're going on patrol now. Sai, go get pills for everyone. Yamanaka nodded and headed to the kitchen. Check the equipment, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Together with his mother he headed up, Mito also went with them. Yugao was in the bedroom with the children. Uzumaki looked out the window stroking her katana, the children were doing calligraphy. The Namikaze couple walked over and sat on the bed. Brother Naru. They say Dad is passed out too? Yuri looked up from the scroll and sat down with her brother near Namikaze. Don't worry, strong brother, even without consciousness he is thinking about how to fix the situation. Naruto stroked Yuri's head, and she hugged him in return. I agree, you can't kill him that easily. Ashura looked at his mother, who nodded slightly. Yuri, let's go, I'll pour you some juice, otherwise we won't get many people. Smiling at his sister, he offered his back, and she deftly jumped on it. Good luck on your mission, brother. Yuri waved her hand, Ashura nodded and left the room, closing the door. Tell me. Yugao sat down on the bed. In general, even the most powerful cleansing techniques did not work on him. Naruto sighed. But he said that he would think about what to do. He is clearly in the inner world. Every Jinchuriki has one. Namikaze stroked her stomach. Even though I'm no longer a Jinchuriki, the world remains. I like to stay there when I get tired of you. She smiled at the children. We must wait and be ready. The girl fell silent, and then said, It's time for you. Brother and sister nodded and headed out. Good luck and have each other's backs. Be careful. Yugao said. The door slammed. Having gone down, Naruto and Mito each received 3 pills from Sai. Is everyone ready? Have you checked everything? Having received nods, Namikaze sighed. To the exit. Remember, when you see an enemy, report and wait for reinforcements. Shikaku gave parting words. Good luck. The genins went out into the street in a column. Good luck to all of us. Naruto put out his fist, everyone knocked together and, dividing into teams, ran away. Tonari looked at the empty village with contempt. If it were up to him, he wouldn't even come down here, but the plan is higher. The effect of the artifact will soon end and that god will wake up. By that time Otsutsuki should be on the moon. The elders are already waiting. Hanabi Hyuga, I'm coming for you. Tonari raised his eyelids, his eye sockets were empty. The unusual silence put too much pressure on the genin. They had already completed their mission and were now patrolling the area. Naruto. Hinata screamed, deactivating her Byakugan. There are too many targets, but there is no chakra in them. Puppets? Is it really Suna? The blonde thought about it. Everyone be ready. Uzumaki turned on the radio. Shikaku-san, it looks like this is the work of Suna. Hundreds of puppets are moving towards us. Accepted, hide and wait for reinforcements. Estimated arrival time is 2 minutes. Accepted. Naruto turned off his headset. Keep your head under cover. The group fled. As soon as the last genin ducked into cover, the puppets rushed through the center of the street at speed, heading towards the shelter. But a moment later Anbu appeared, a dozen. But among them was Kakashi, his hair was recognizable. You won't go any further. Kakashi said calmly. Destroy. Anbu rushed into battle. The Anbu smashed the dolls to pieces using bundles and combined taijutsu techniques. But there were many puppets, dozens of new ones appeared to replace those destroyed. Pathetic insects. I do not have much time. A squad of Anbu slammed into the wall of the house. I would kill him, but I don't have time. Tonari looked at the squad contemplatively. Hardly. Tonari turned around, 2 eternal Mangekyu were looking at him. After which Kakashi sent Otsutsuki flying with 1 blow. Get out, go to the base, this is my enemy. Exactly? Namekaze came out. Shoot. And you too. He nodded to the Anbu who had come to their senses. And a minute later the street was empty. Well, not all people are pathetic. Show me your strength. Tonari shouted and flew at Kakashi, blocking the powerful blows of the Anbu using Genjutsu. Genjutsu doesn't work on me. Otsutsuki kicked, sending Kakashi flying. But I'll look at your Mangekyu. Show me the power of those eyes. Kamui. The guy's head started to twist, but he swallowed the equipment. Not bad, not bad. What else can you show? First gate, gate of beginning. Kakashi's speed has increased significantly, and together with the Sharingan and Chidori, he has become a dangerous opponent. Dangerous. Tonari had difficulty dodging Hataki, who did not forget to use Kamui. You're running out of steam, man. Without paying attention to the words, Kakashi accelerated to the maximum, punching the heart of Otsutsuki, and lastly, chopping off part of the guy's hand. Arg! With a kick filled with chakra, he sent the ANBU flying. 5 minutes left. Stupid man. Ignoring the pain and wounds, he headed towards the shelter. We are all gone. Hana. Ishiki ran like a stung person. All our plans have gone to waste. Without these eyes we won't be able to do anything to him. Nothing. Calm down. A resounding slap brought Ishiki to his senses. We'll overwhelm him with numbers. Yes, and we have a couple of fruits, and also a 10-tailed one. We'll manage. These eyes were just another trump card, but alas. Let's leave this world, huh? Why do we need it? There are still a lot of worlds. He can travel through worlds, dumbass. As long as he lives, we will have no peace. Don't we have such an artifact yet? No, he was unique. They actually wanted to use it in an attack on some pantheon, but that was a long time ago. It's a pity he didn't make it. Everyone looked at the ground. Tonari was lying 50 meters from the entrance to the shelter. A crimson spot spread under him, and then a person or creature appeared nearby, examined the body and raised his eyes to the sky, looking intently at Otsutsuki. And then he disappeared again. I peed myself. Honestly, me too. Ishiki is completely faint. And indeed Otsutsuki was lying on the floor, drooling. Naruto found himself near the shelter immediately after waking up. Who are you like that? He sat down next to Tonari. Old acquaintances. He looked intently at the sky. And then he went to the shelter, taking Otsutsuki's body. Silence. Uzumaki's powerful voice echoed throughout the shelter, calming the people who had woken up. We all fell into the action of an unknown artifact. Even you? An unsure voice came from the crowd. Yes, and I don't know what's happening in the village now. The only thing I managed to do was send you to the shelter and seal it. Now I'll find out everything and you can leave in an hour. Naruto disappeared again. Conference hall of the Hokage residence. In the hall were all the high-ranking shinobi, clan heads, and Naruto. In general, I don't know what it was, but I know who is to blame. Naruto took the floor. In his hands he held a glass of whiskey. Otsutsuki, the clan of mighty aliens. In fact, ordinary people are 2 orders of magnitude stronger than our Kage, and they live longer than people. What should we do? Asked Minato. Council of 5 Kage. I need an army. For what? 1 click and that's it. Minato got in. But here it's more interesting. The Uzumaki thought for a moment and continued after taking a sip. They have resistance to some of my powers. Yes, and with 100 people of the Kage level it will be difficult for me, and not even taking into account the heaps of artifacts, and possibly the 10 tails. 10 tails? But Rikudo sealed it 1,000 years ago. Alas, there is not only our world, and in each there was, and maybe there is, a 10-tailed one. In general, I will take care of Otsutsuki myself. I need the army to contain their army, a side branch. So you want to unite all the villages? Asked one of the Jounin. Yes. Naruto finished his whiskey. And now I want to propose that the Chunin be given to several genin. Yes, Naruto Namekaze, Shikamaru Nara and Sai Yamanaka. Isn't it too early? They will be useful to me on the front line. Only shinobi of the rank of Chunin and above will go to war. Okay, who is in favor of awarding the title of Chunin to the named shinobi? Every single one of them raised their hands. They all trusted Uzumaki and were confident in him. Unanimously. And now everyone rest. See you. Naruto waved his hand and disappeared. Tired? Yugao asked while preparing dinner. A little, there will be a Kage council soon. Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose. War awaits us. Do you think they will decide? Dinner was laid out on plates. Yes. I am like a bone in their throat. And they will use everything they have against me. A plate was placed in front of Naruto. Okay, let's eat, tomorrow will be tomorrow. Bon appetit. Have a nice time. This is where the story ends.